This one is alive.
Does it say live?
Yep.
Perfect.
This one doesn't exactly show the whole board, but
Okay. Hi. Okay, great. How's it going? Everything okay?
yeah.
What?
Busy.
Yeah. We're all busy. Busy. Busy's our main thing. You can enjoy it along the way.
Yeah, busy with things you want to be busy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because it's easy to,
Can't complain when I sign up for it.
yeah. Well, you can, but it doesn't help. It's easy for me if I get into it, but it doesn't help. Okay, let's just do that. I really can. Okay, Creative Studio. Hi.
You go to me? Good.
Okay, we need to do the DVD recorder. Is it on? It says it is? Okay, let it load first. See, it says please power. Okay, now press it. Now put it in. Copy. Is it going down?
Yep.
Okay.
I went to the number before
Can we?
she sends an email because if they
Why don't you do this? Stay with me afterwards, and we'll do an email, okay?
and then once then we can just
And then we can CC it basically with you. So what do we need to, can you CC it to me? You compose it and you CC it to me? That we'd like to invite you and then put me in as one of the,
that's it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to?
yeah, just do it now, since we're doing it. Or you know what, have it come from, Bradley, you do it, and then you sign it as MD there.
Yeah.
Give it to Bradley, tell him who he needs to do it to, and let's have them set it up for Monday or Wednesday at 4 p.m. That we just want a short little intro of what they're doing in the,
The caps and everything.
what are they using for the caps.
It's EXN67 at Miami Dade.
And then CC me and CC your group.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, I'm gonna check. Should be okay. My mic is, no. Yeah, I wanna make sure that my mic is on. You see it? That it's pressed to mic. Here.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Do you have the one that you sent me?
I didn't say anything. I went there today and it took me like 3 hours to get that one.
So just say that on behalf of our health informatics, on behalf of Dr. Sarah Rushinek, and put who's in your group, we'd like to invite you to give a short presentation on What is she in charge of the lab? She in charge of the
Oh,
lab?
she's in charge of the whole thing.
Right, to tell us, give us an overview, just a short overview, and we're interested in, one of our groups are, and then you can tell what you're doing, interested in see what you have available. You don't have to ask her right now in the email, but what you want from her, you know what I mean? Just that we'd like to see if she could do that within the next, maybe even give it if she can come even next week, on Monday or Wednesday, preferably Monday, so we can get it already started, you know what I mean? The earlier the better. So give her 2 dates, you know, of next Monday at 4, and tell her it can be just a short presentation, we don't need a lot. Okay, welcome back, folks, how are we? What's going on? So how was the presentations, you think, so far? So good, so should we continue? I think it adds a lot, no? So we had, I'm getting feedback here, so let me just see here on the mic what I'm having a problem with. Yes, somebody have a question?
Dr. Rushnick?
Yes.
When he said, towards the end of his presentation, he was saying he knows someone that was hired through the Trump administration that needed to fix the Affordable Care Act. Do you know what exactly he thought was wrong with the Affordable Care Act?
I'm not gonna speak on behalf of him. So if you're welcome to send him an email, though you need to know his background. Dr. Gertz used to be with, have you heard of Rick Scott?
Yes, but I mean, there are other.
Right, so he used to be,
Democrats that have worked with Rick Scott.
right, so he used to be, I don't know, he used to be right underneath Rick Scott in doing all of his hospitals when he was doing it, and when they had all their their problems, shall I say, with all the hospitals with a lot of the fraud.
Oh, yes, when they were fined, when he was fined. Yeah.
Right, one of the largest fraud.
Yeah.
He was involved with.
7 billion.
Yes, he was involved in those hospitals, and Rick Scott did not go to prison, and Dr. Gertz also did not go to prison. There were some others.
Who went to prison?
What?
Who went to prison then?
Some others that weren't attorneys or, Rick Scott is also an attorney. So Rick Scott was, if you ever seen his depositions, he was quite specific. You know, he spoke differently on his depositions.
Do you still have his email, Dr. Rushnick?
Yeah, after class, I'll be happy to share that with you. Okay? But, so that was, he was involved in those proceedings. Just so you know. So, but personally, I don't know what he is now attempting to do in terms of lobbying efforts. So, but I'm sure part of those lobbying efforts are the types of companies he's working with to ensure it. The devil, let me just tell you here, the devil is in the detail. And let me just tell you, definitely things are going to go telehealth, definitely things are going to go home-based, definitely things are going to go away from the physical hospital of those costs to reduce the cost. There's no problem on that. What the key here is, what about technology? How fast do you think technology is changing? Super fast, slow?
Fast.
Very fast. So the idea here is bringing in a lot of those automation. I'm getting feedback on this, right? On a lot of those automation are they going to be nimble enough to change those technologies? Think about the new Apple, right? The new Samsungs, the new Androids. They change so quickly. Are they going to be nimble enough to change that technology within those platforms? But definitely that is here to stay. That's going to be the way of the future here. What else? Any other questions on that their talk? On November 13th, you can put it down. Those folks from they came late from Information Security. They're coming back to give us
When? What day?
November 13th. So they're scheduled to come November 13th Today, we are scheduled to have Modernizing Medicine, Dr. Alana Oberstein, who's a rheumatologist, who's now practicing at Lennar here on the Coral Gables campus. She's going to join us, so I told her to just come in. She's going to be talking about modernizing medicine. Some of you, how many people have heard about this company?
What's this?
Modernizing Medicine.
You mentioned it last time.
Yeah, I mentioned in the last class. This is a company that is based in Boca. Sabrina, you told me you heard about them, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a company that's based in Boca, and one of the what?
Boca, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, Boca Raton, Florida, and this company is growing like wildfire. It's gotten a lot of money from the venture capitalists, and as I mentioned before, the founder was the founder of Blackboard, and we all are familiar with Blackboard. He was a young gentleman that sold Blackboard and then moved to South Florida and was at his dermatologist and saw how antiquated his dermatologist was working. So he said, hey, there has to be a better way to do dermatology. So they started this company together on modernizing medicine. So you see the first company, the first specialty they started off with was dermatology, because he started with a dermatologist up in Boca. And then their practice, as I mentioned before, is taking each of these specialties and having physicians then do the workflow process. So they teach the physicians in these specialties, they teach them JavaScript and some HTML. You remember we talked about the programming languages? So they say, we can teach physicians the front end for workflow, and then they could basically market to other physicians in their practices. So that's rather than the other way of having computer science people develop systems where at the end physicians said, I don't want to work that way. So you can see here about their company, and they are in basically the EHR field. And notice they've gotten a number of users, so they even have a user conference. I guess it starts tomorrow, huh? 2nd through the 5th. And they're talking about, you can see here, and their claim to fame is where it used to be client-server based. And what do I mean by client-server based? Let me put up a note here so we can see the date. Guess what? I'm not going to be in October anymore, right? Monday, November 1st. And we'll talk about EHR and the evolution of system development. And I mentioned last time, I mentioned the idea of agile methodology. You want to create these systems quite quickly. What's been traditionally the case in developing information systems, that it was a slow, arduous process, and there wasn't constant feedback between the end users of the product and the information systems development staff. So they've turned this around, and they traditionally looked at the competition, and the competition was what they called client server based. And what does that mean? That sometimes what it could have been in the very beginning is my server. And what's a server? Server is a regular computer, but it basically hosts the website, hosts the information, and it serves out to what? The clients. What's a client? Your laptop is a client, your phone is a client, any device you have, you're the client and the server hosts you. Now, based on the server based, this server could be housed locally, meaning in the hospital or in the physician's office. Or this server can be hosted, this hosting service can be off premises. And sometimes you'll hear it say off-prem. What's the advantage of having it on your premises is that you know it's working. What's the difficulty for it to be on premises is what? What are the disadvantages? If I asked you a question, for instance, on an exam and say, what are the pros and cons of a client server? The pros is that I have control over it. The pros is that I physically can see it. What are the cons? What are the disadvantages? What?
It's easier to hack, or if like someone knows it, they can get into it.
Well, it depends on whether it's easier to hack the systems, but what is more so?
It's not like it doesn't have its own network that's connected.
Well, I could be networked. What else? First of all, I need a staff to run it. I need knowledgeable people in my office or get some help, right, to run it. Another disadvantage could be that every time I needed an update, what happens is that I have to get downloaded. The owners of the EHR have to basically give you a new copy of their EHR system. So what has gone about is a lot of these systems are what they call cloud-based. Systems. And what does cloud-based mean? Who can tell me? What's a cloud? Have you heard it? Everybody's heard it, right? You've heard it everywhere,
So it's
right?
safe.
It's
You can
cloud-based.
access
and-
it from multiple any computer, anyone should be able to access if you have your own.
Well, cloud-based, really all that cloud, you remember we talked about servers? Are there servers in a cloud-based system? This is a good true and false. Are there servers in a cloud-based system?
Well, the cloud has to come from somewhere.
Yes.
Yes. The only difference is that when we talk about the cloud, what are we talking about? We're talking about off-premise, and usually when we're talking about the cloud, that we can get it browser-based, or I can connect via a browser, via the internet. I can connect to that server. So it doesn't mean that it's local, meaning in my office, but that server resides in another location, and I, as a client, as a user, can gain access to that server. And that's what they mean cloud-based. The advantage to cloud-based is what?
Sport to that, or like.
Greater storage.
Well, that I can do on demand. I as a, let's say as a physician practice, do not have to buy the hardware. I do not have to worry about the upgrades to the hardware. If I have demand, then the hosting company that's in the so-called cloud or that hoster can then take care of it, and I can expand on demand. So you'll see even a lot of startups will start in cloud-based and say, you know, when we grow, now we don't have any customers. Next month we'll have 100 customers. Next year we'll have 1,000 customers, and in 2 years we're planning 10,000 customers, and then maybe 1 million customers. Well, if I were continuing that way, I would have to, does the hardware get obsolete? Yes. Do I have to change the hardware? Yes. Do I have to get bigger hard drives? Yes. Do I have to get more memory? Yes. All that time, I as the client don't have to worry about that. The hosting company will give me as much as I need on demand. Everybody understand it? So it will stretch as I stretch. As I grow, it will grow. And just think about, sometimes, you know, you think about retail, right? The busy season is Christmas, and then I slack off, or I'll have a big marketing event where I'll have a lot of people, and then I'll slack off. Well, then what I can do is I can then even order less services. So a lot of these hosting then, these cloud-based systems or these hosting systems that I talk about can move along my own needs, can stretch or it can shrink. Also, in terms, somebody said security, if for instance my hosting company is someone like Amazon, and you'll hear this a lot, AWS. Anybody hear about them? Type it in Google, see what you get. AWS.
Amazon Web Services.
What did Amazon start off with? Amazon started off being what? A bookseller on the internet. And what did they need to buy in order to be a bookseller on the internet? They had to basically have computers, right? They had to host them, and what did they get? Clients. We all were clients, and we ordered books. And then later on, what did they do? They put more goods there that you could order on Amazon. They already started well into being what? Knowing how to store data, knowing information about my data, being electronic, gaining what? Electronic commerce, basically gaining money from individuals, knowing how to do billing. So what did Amazon think? We know how to do that. Let's do it for other companies. That's our back end, right? Let's do a service to other companies and we'll provide them the service. They first started like with Target and other big, major retailers, and then they came up with an entire company and they called themselves, an entire subsidiary, and called themselves what? Amazon Web Services. Meaning that we will have the computers where connected to the internet. And not only if you're a retailer, if you're a researcher and you want to do, let's say, genomic research, where we're talking about billions of transactions that I'm looking at. Everybody hear about big data, all that data mining? What you need to do is then you need to get a cluster of computers together to do your project. They're saying you don't need the cluster of computers that you need to buy. Guess what? Use our services. And when you're finished with your project, I'm going to pay as on demand as I use your services. So that's where AWS. So now, most healthcare systems are what they call cloud-based systems. This one, Modernizing Medicine, and a number of others say, we won't put the server, we won't sell the hardware to the physicians or to the hospitals. What we'll do is we'll just sell the software, and what will we do? We'll store it on the cloud. We need a hosting company, and instead, if I'm doing an EHR system, I don't even have to worry about taking care of the security. Let me give that to Amazon. Let them worry about the security. Let them worry about being hacked. And I rest assured what people think is Amazon should know more about being hacked than the EHR vendor, or you, the physician's practice, or you, the hospital, Mercy Hospital or XYZ Hospital. So Amazon, if we go even, it's interesting.
Are they coming today?
Who? Modernizing Medicine is, not Amazon.
No.
Okay. You can look outside just to see, Do me a favor. Somebody, Candace, just, sometimes, you remember how they were waiting? I think she knows to come in. You'll see a woman. No one, okay. So anyway, she said she's coming. She knows she's coming. She said, great. As a matter of fact, she even wanted to tweet about it with her Modernizing Medicine. They said they wanted to get a thing. So here you can see here, start building on AWS today. You can see under their products, do they have one product? Jesus, huh? You can see they have like hundreds of products, it looks like, but it's computing, storage, so it's everything. I don't have to have my computer. What am I doing? I'm basically like renting space. I'm renting computing space, I'm renting storage space, I'm writing a database space from them. I'm getting developer tools, so my developers, they don't even need to use their own computers. They can develop their management tools, analytics to do like data mining. Look at all their security, mobile services. So I want to develop some mobile applications, messaging, desktop and streaming, Internet of Things. You remember how we talked about the Internet of Things and the platform and game development. And under solutions, I'll just show you that you need to know about them. Under solutions, by application, you can see, hey, I can create websites with them. I can create backup and recovery. Did we talk about it's important backup and recovery? Of course. Archiving, developmental apps, big data, and high performance. Hi, my dear. How are you?
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm great.
You are great.
In the middle of the live stream here.
It's okay. So, Dr. Oberstein, we probably need you to set up.
Yes.
Let me call up those folks.
Certainly.
And as you're setting up, you can introduce yourself, and I can speak to the students. And we were just happily talking about you. And
Great.
your ears didn't have to burn. I was saying good things about you, right? Right, class?
I hope
Did
so.
I say anything?
Nothing terrible, right?
Yeah, hi, how are you? This is Dr. Rushadik in 212 Memorial. I have Dr. Oberstein here with her iPad, and she needs to connect with, you need your phone too? Dr. Oberstein?
No, it is an Apple laptop
She has an Apple laptop.
to
and-
connect.
To
to your-
connect to the projector here. Can you be so kind and come and help her set up?
Thank you.
Yeah, I do, but she's having some issues. Okay, thank you so much.
It'll be okay.
Okay, so we'll try this.
Yes.
We'll
Yes.
see if this will go. We always have trouble getting you to project, right?
Yes, it's, how many years have I been doing this? Quite a few, right?
Quite a few. We've,
And
when you were young, just
Yes.
a teenager, you came to
spry.
me.
I was a spry young gal.
Right.
And yes. One year though, you had some IT wizard in the audience.
Right. That was, I did. Well, I may have one now too, but
You have one.
they're in incognito
Yes.
for me.
All right. Let's see. How do we get this? What time does this class start? Is it a
We started at 3:35.
great? And we go until
So we go to about 4:40.
okay, 4:40.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect.
It's a good time.
Okay? And they were just asking me when you're coming.
And then we live stream to those who take the class from
Yeah,
home.
right.
correct?
And we archive, so we can even, if you'd like to, we
Great.
can give you the link too later on,
Great.
Okay.
Great.
if you would like.
Wonderful.
Only if you'd like. Otherwise.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I think you've helped me in the past. Maybe.
He's now
Maybe.
pretending he forgets, huh?
So I have my laptop. Yes, Apple laptop. And what I do is, of course, this. Do you want this? Yes. Continue. It's always fascinating how this. It always loves to kill me.
Don't we have the connector here?
Yeah.
Did you do?
So I'd like to actually, it always does this to me. I'd like to project my laptop to her screen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if this would stop glitching out on me, which may very well just be that. What I like to
You
do
want
is,
to present off your iPad?
that would be fabulous. Could I present off my iPad and bypass my,
Well, there's a, we're working on purchasing it. Can you do that?
Oh,
using Reflector?
Yeah, you know about it?
Oh, yeah,
Do you like it?
I do. I like it very much.
Okay.
Are people familiar with Reflector? Who's ever used Reflector? Look it up. Reflector. Is a way in which you can then,
Why must monitoring instruments?
Yeah, we're trying to purchase it.
Mhm. What I do, I actually don't have it on here, but what I usually do
what?
is,
Yes, I forgot how to do it. I think it's preview or one of those.
what I do here is I usually go to QuickTime.
Yes, QuickTime.
And I go to new movie recording. So it's seeing that. Trust this computer.
So
trust it.
maybe we can just, view her,
Yeah, yeah.
view her iPad, no?
We are
View
going,
her,
oh,
here, we have this connector
Yep,
here,
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, she's trying to set it up.
yeah.
we have,
I have you, right,
yes, we are looking at me.
right. Now I wanna see your,
You got it. We are gonna make it happen. Every year we do. I have no doubts that we're gonna make it happen this year.
now does she need to be on, secure,
I'm on Secure
Secure
Cane.
Cane.
I'm on Secure Cane.
cause that was an issue too,
Yep.
that we have.
We have had quite a few. We're gonna make it happen. Of course, it needs to log in. Let's get on the Wi-Fi here. Make it happen. Secure Canes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Looks good.
Mhm.
So did you get your website too?
Oh, yeah.
You got it now, your website? And what about the websites for people? What have we done?
We're working.
Huh? So you started, it works,
I
and
just
it
want
works
to
now?
be, I'm on this,
Okay.
I'm on this. Now, there's gonna be
The
one
problem was
last
I didn't
item.
publish,
What?
I just created it, but didn't publish it, so it was only for me, and then.
Right, you have to publish it,
And
right.
then when we publish it, it will.
Perfect. Okay. Okay.
So weird. I don't only want to be open the Wi-Fi.
So what's the issue now?
I think
Logging
we're
in.
doing okay. We're gonna set it up right
Right,
now. So I'm in my system.
so, right.
Just a matter of, good, we've got our patient. Just a matter of going right here and, okay, we wanna do this. Let me log out of this. Do you wanna allow this computer to access this? Yes, indeed. So we're gonna say yes. We're allowing access. Okay, now, we're almost there, folks. On its way. Okay, let's try. And then I think all you'll have to do is get my screen up there. So we're gonna go with, thank you so much. I'm gonna go with a file, new movie recording, and then we go here. See, my iPad should come up here. FaceTime HD camera. See, my iPad is not coming up here, but that's okay. Maybe, I bet you, it's gonna be file, new screen recording. Nope.
No. Show me.
That's okay. If I have to use my laptop, we can. It's always new movie recording. And then I see this and I go to, and my iPad should be up here. I'm on the same Wi-Fi. Let me double check. I am on
I don't
Secure
think the
Canes.
Wi-Fi should not matter
Shouldn't matter.
if you're just trying to.
Secure Canes. And usually it's right there as an option. You know what I'm saying? Do screen recording. No.
And it's connected.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's
Oh,
already
see,
connected.
that is what That's what it is. It happened last time. It is my, you know what, I may need another student to give me, it's usually this darn thing, let's see. I may have another, need another cable. That's what it is. You are so right. It's like glitching.
Yeah.
Here, maybe if I hold
Try
it.
this.
Oh, thanks. Okay. iPad has been detected.
Okay.
Wonderful. I think we're making progress here. We're gonna click off of screen recording. We're gonna go to QuickTime again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. New, I want new movie recording. Well, try that. New iPad, we don't want to download now. Okay, so, haha, what's your name again? Daniel, you always help me. Now all I want to do is project this to her screen. Thank you, sir. Making progress, professor, making progress.
And then go to laptop.
Is it that you guys aren't usually iPad,
Right.
Apple, not Apple?
We're Apple, but we're not iPhone.
Okay, so all we need to do is project, we're going to say, whatever is on this to her screen. Making progress.
It's done. Yeah, we're still on.
Is there only one?
What?
Uh-huh.
There.
There we go. Well, make it happen, make it happen.
So we're not. It's the only one I have. I should have another one. That's it. That's it.
Airplays off. Let me ask you this, could I connect my device to here?
Yes, but it's not allowing me to. I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to show the
Or you think it's maybe that?
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, let me just try. Just need, it looks like it's connected. Hmm?
Try reflector. Weird. You'd think we'd learn by now.
It worked the last time.
Yeah, it did. No, I think we're doing well. We
Yeah.
just, this lovely
Connecting.
thing, it's not,
Yeah, let me try to get another one and see.
I'm gonna try to get another one. Or
Do you have,
different outlet?
You have
What?
No.
yeah, I'll get a Thunderbolt.
Yeah, get a Thunderbolt. So maybe you can talk until they're getting here.
Sure.
And talk about yourself and talk about what your company is and what
Yes.
your,
Yes,
while we
yes.
wait.
Yes. So at first, I'd like to thank your professor for inviting me. This is a few years in a row that I come and I meet with the class. So my name is Dr. Oberstein, and I'm a board-certified internist, internal medicine, along with a subspecialty in rheumatology. So I predominantly treat patients with autoimmune diseases that affect their joints, such as rheumatoid arthritis or systemic lupus, psoriatic arthritis. And I actually work here at the Lennar Medical Facility, which is here, brand new, beautiful, where Student Health is located. I encourage you guys to check it out. It's really a lovely facility. So I see patients there, and that's where I take care of my clinical duties. But on the flip side, I decided to go into healthcare technology roughly 5 years ago. It was during the time that President Obama mandated that all physicians be on electronic health records. So if those of you who have been to a doctor recently or accompanied a friend or a family member to a doctor, every physician is on an electronic health record. meaning they are charting and documenting the visit on a computer, right? We don't use paper anymore. And really, there were a lot of limitations with that. I don't know if you've been to a doctor and you're there and they're like hunched over and not looking at you because they're charting that way. So I was very much in that arena. I was very unhappy. I graduated from the University of Miami for my medical degree. I was at Harvard University for my undergraduate degree. I then stayed at University of Miami Jackson Memorial Health System to do internal medicine rheumatology. And I was always used to interacting with the patients. And then when the mandate came down to go electronic, and I was provided a platform that was keyboard based and not mobile based, it really ruined the interaction with the patient. I like to be staring at the patient, talking to them. So this company in Boca Raton, Florida, called Modernizing Medicine, had created an app, an iPad mobile app, also on the iPhone, for specialists, dermatology, otolaryngology, ophthalmology, orthopedic surgery, gastroenterology, urology, and they wanted to create one for rheumatology so that specialists could be in the room with the patient and not lose that, patient-physician interaction. Hence, I came on board. Amazing. So they contacted me. I had some friends who were already working there, and they said, listen, we'd like to create this platform for rheumatologists. And there we go. I think we're good as long as I can. Yep, perfect. Thank you. I'm on. And that's where this product for rheumatology was born. And again, it was an invention so that we could go full screen. I'm at peace with this. Yeah.
Let's stretch it.
Stretch it. Let's not push our limits here.
Let me know if anything.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Most grateful.
Thank you.
So the idea was to create this for rheumatologists. The key here is that it's a specialty specific product, right? So, if you're a auto mechanic and you work specifically on Toyota, right? And somebody gives you some tools that are good for like general cars, not really for Toyota, you're gonna tinker around and things aren't gonna be so fast, right? The point of care is not as efficient. Someone hands you the tool for Toyota, you're on it. It like works. So the idea was to create a specialty specific product for rheumatologists. It was already in the arena of those other fields that I told you about, so that the interaction with the patient is quicker. Like I'm not scrolling through things about pediatrics. It's not relevant to my case. So the idea was to improve patient efficiency. But the second idea was to improve patient outcome. And this is where I'm gonna demo to you the ultimate public health goal to improve patient outcome using technology. So we're gonna begin. And remember, that's our goal here today. I'm gonna start with a demo patient called Mary Medicare. And you're gonna see as the screen loads, I apologize, I think we have a little bit of a lag time just based on the Wi-Fi.
Okay, so you're now hooked into the cloud.
I am. This is all cloud-based SaaS software, okay?
Software as a service.
That's correct. And it can be ascertained and utilized anywhere, any place, really on any device, any mobile device. So iPad, iPhone, also Android. And the idea, again, is to maintain the patient interaction, but I want you to watch the way I document, because in the end, you're gonna see that global healthcare outcomes can really be improved by utilizing and leveraging technology. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna start a new patient visit. And as it loads, we're gonna go ahead and take the history on this patient. And as we start with the patient, we'll add a chief complaint. What happens is you'll see that this only has rheumatic conditions. So the dermatologist will have dermatologic conditions, rash, itch, lesion. The urologist will have, blood in the urine, kidney stone. The gastroenterologist will have diarrhea. So it's specialty specific. And you'll see as a rheumatologist, I have rheumatoid arthritis, I have joint pain, I have all things that are related to my field. So if we click and we utilize, for example, the complaint of rheumatoid arthritis, patient comes in and they complain of joint pain. Let's just say that they have bilateral wrist pain. So what you're gonna see is I'm gonna go through a series of questions. It's just downloading my images. We have an avatar that has over 200,000 anatomic locations on it. And so let's just say the patient comes in and they say, okay, doc, I have pain in my right and left wrist, okay? And, okay, well, you're here for joint pain. And what you're gonna see is I'm going to be taking a ribbon of questions that are all structured data. Patient's telling me, okay, my problem is worse when it's in the morning. I wake up, I feel very stiff at night. It's a 5 out of 10 in intensity. It's actually been going on, doc, for the past 3 months. I've already tried a few things. I've tried some anti-inflammatories in the form of Aleve. It really didn't help me, didn't make things much better. That's why I'm here to see you. Right now, Aleve didn't work, so I went to the local emergency room and they gave me some oral prednisone. I've been on that steroid for 1 week. I'm currently on, 20 milligrams. And you can add more information. It's alleviating my symptoms. In the past, I haven't had any blood work done, no laboratory testing. And again, I'm here because I was sent after going to Baptist emergency room to come see you for a definitive diagnosis.
Are you getting prompted to ask these questions and you're documenting as it goes, or?
So yes, so the system has all of these questions in it, and I'm asking the patient these questions. You can go in any order you want, but the key behind this, as you saw, there were granular structured areas that you were tapping off, right? So you get this prose, tells you why the patient was here, etc. If the patient tells you something that's not in the question, there's no issue with me adding to it. I could add to this by text. I could add to this by dictating into the system, period. I could indicate that they were at the Port of Miami and the patient had a slip and fall, period. So you can do this any way you want, but the key is if you answer structured questions, at the end of the day, you see 50 patients, you could drill down at the granular level and say, how many of my 50 patients had rheumatoid arthritis? You can insert RA, you can look in the system, oh, I had 30 patients with rheumatoid arthritis. Well, great, there's a brand new drug out for rheumatoid arthritis that the FDA is trying to get approved, and we're gonna start a clinical trial. Well, how many of my patients would qualify for that? So by leveraging technology and entering in structured data, you could actually do productive things. When you're writing on a chart and it's getting filed in a file cabinet, you can't analyze that. When you are strictly typing free text or dictating with your free dictaphone, you also, unless you have a worm that goes into it and extracts data, you can't use that.
It's starting to be unstructured data.
Unstructured data. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we should ignore what the patient's saying about a slip and fall at the Port of Miami. That's very valid, and no computer system is gonna have a checkbox, Port of Miami slip and fall. But you can always add that at the end. The key to leveraging this kind of technology, because in the end we'll talk about improving patient outcomes, is using structured data. It's fast, mobile, and again, you can capture a lot of items at that granular level.
I guess, do you have to go in the order that the questions are prompted? Because when you ask a patient a question, they're gonna answer you and they might jump to question 17 to 12.
Exactly.
So-
And you can go in any order. So I'll do another chief complaint. These are all really good questions. Let's say that the person has knee pain. We'll add another chief complaint here, knee arthritis. They have knee pain. We can put anything in here. We could say they have toe pain, knee pain, okay? We have another, say, till 4:40 you said, right,
Yeah.
Professor? Okay. So you could say they have pain and they can come in. Look, doc, my knee is really bothering me, okay? And you'll see they're here for knee pain, but all of these questions on the ribbon up here, the patient can tell their story, okay? I don't have to go and say, well, how did this knee pain happen? Oh, you were in a motor vehicle accident. They could say, yeah, doc, it's been horrendous. Today, today's a good day, but I have, 4 out of 10 in pain. And, this has happened for, 2 months. Or they could start off by saying, and I can document this anyway, Doc, I had surgery 5 years ago, I had a knee arthroscopy. So you could go in any order, okay? So the technology doesn't limit you to being in a box. You can continue to answer questions as you wish. Once you do the chief complaint, the history of the patient, you go into the exam room. And what's really great about this is when you document the exam, you could document by exception. You could say, okay, this exam's normal, okay? We're gonna look at all their joints are normal, okay? We're gonna say, nothing is really wrong that I can see right now. The quick way to document is you say it's normal, but then you document what is actually bothering them. And it's going to override the note and show what exactly is wrong with this patient. So if we go here, for example, I said everything was normal, but then, well, that patient has a hot knee, it's warm, it's tender to palpation. By clicking on those structured points of data, it's gonna override the note that says it's normal. It's a faster way of documenting as a physician, just to document the abnormalities. And then you'll see you have the plans. You can counsel the patient. This is why you have knee pain. And it would take us so long to keep typing the same thing over and over. You have knee pain because of this. So this is all kind of baked into the system. Perhaps if you've ever been to an emergency room, they give you a printout like this, but it's baked into the system. You can prescribe the patient medication. You could say, okay, for this problem, you tried ibuprofen, it didn't work. You tried Aleve, you tried prednisone, it didn't work. I'm gonna give you this new medication called Celebrex. We're gonna give you 30 tablets of Celebrex. We're gonna give you 2 refills. And in the background, remember, all of this is being saved as structured data. So at the end of the day, if I wanna know how many patients I gave Celebrex to, I can drill down that data. So we do our counseling, we prescribe for the patient, we can maybe order some home exercise if that's what's important for this patient. I want you to do chair squats, I want you to build up your quads, etc. So what I wanna show you is when I save this visit note, okay, and I'm at the end of my visit, I've created a lot of output for the patient, okay? We've got our note, that documented what was wrong with the patient, any dictation we did, any free text, our exam, okay, which is there, and then what we've done. We counseled them, we prescribed medication, we told them about home exercises. And why is this important? So this is important because in the end, again, you saw this interaction. You didn't hear me tell the patient, other recommendations. If you are overweight, try to lose weight. So it's in the system. We're trying to leverage, it's repetitive in a way, right? You see 5 people with knee pain, you want to tell them, keep your weight low, right? Because for every extra 10 pounds you have, it's another 10 pounds on your knee joint. So there's certain things that are structured. And then in the end, you can do what I consider to be very important public health, or if you will, data analysis on your patient population. So what you can do is you could look at every rheumatologist using this system in the nation and drill down and say, okay, what are all these rheumatologists using to treat knee pain? So I'm going to show you that. So if you go back actually into the exam room, and let's just resume that knee pain situation. So we're going to resume the diagnosis of knee pain, okay? I don't want to replace it. I want to resume it. Give me 1 second. We're going to resume knee pain, okay? What I want to show you is, let's just say I want to prescribe something for this patient again, but I'm like, they already failed non-steroidal anti-inflammatory ibuprofen. Baptist gave them prednisone. What else should I give them? We have something called grand rounds, right? It's almost like phone a friend. There was an old TV show. I don't know if you guys ever knew it. What was it called? Maybe Do You Want to Be a Millionaire, right? Where you could phone a friend or whatever. So I could phone a friend. So everybody in the nation using this product, this is a dummy site, so I don't have the data loaded up, but I could say, okay, patients with knee arthritis, what drug have I given them? Patients with knee arthritis in my practice, with the 5 other doctors in my practice, what are they giving? And then what are all the national doctors of rheumatology using this system giving for knee arthritis?
That are using modernized.
That are using our system. So it's a way to leverage technology. It's all de-identified data, okay? We have 5,000 dermatologists using this product in the nation. 5,000.
So what
So it's
percentage of all
very-
dermatologists use your product?
40% of the United States dermatologists are using this product. So imagine the power of this, right? And if we want to look at how are people treating psoriasis, how are people treating certain rare diseases, what are side effects patients are experiencing from these drugs, we have 5,000 users on this product.
And
So-
and it's just by, does it identify the physician? That you can then contact that physician that saw something similar to yours directly? Can you connect?
Yes, we can connect with the physicians, yes, but all the patient data for HIPAA, for health information protection.
But you could,
Correct. And similarly, like if we had a clinical trial, say a pharmaceutical company came forward and said, we're looking for thousands of patients with psoriasis, we're able to instant message these physicians and say, hey, Johnson & Johnson or whatever company has a trial, would you like to connect with them? So it's a networking opportunity. It's leveraging technology, you know, to connect not just doctors with pharmaceutical, but patients with pharmaceutical.
and are you gonna have a module for clinical trials or no?
Yes, we are working on that as well. Yes.
So you said that like 40% of like dermatologists, for example, are using it.
Yes.
Why aren't all?
Why aren't all?
Yeah, is it that
Right.
it doesn't reach them?
So no, everybody has access to this. Some people choose, there's free software out there, right?
Okay.
Or it's like, you like Waze, I like Google Maps.
It's just like having.
It's just preference. I think if you use this and you leverage this, what I like about it is the iPad, the eye contact with the patient, that it's mobile, that it's you know, on the cloud, it's not on a server. Like there's so many great, you know, tips and tricks about it. That's what I love. And people.
And how about one day you come in the office and you don't have internet access? What does the physician do?
Okay, so that can happen, right? You have Hurricane Irma and like everything goes down, or Maria and you're in Puerto Rico. We actually have screenshots of this, and every patient is, you know, we don't want to go back to paper, but you know, it's like it happens.
But there's no way to,
No, it just
Yeah.
went down.
Paper charts, right? And then like, just like there's system downtime, sometimes.
Right,
with
right,
machines,
no,
like in the
but you
hospital.
don't have anything
Right.
where they can run something, software, that they can run it, and later on then upload it to the
No,
cloud.
you go on the paper and then
Right.
you scan it and you
Oh,
attach
okay.
it to the patient
Okay,
chart.
there's not like you can.
Yeah, go ahead. You had a question?
Is this, so, I mean, this would be replacing an Epic or Cerner, correct?
Okay, so yes. So Epic and Cerner are usually inpatient hospital-based products.
Right.
This is being used in the
Or specialists and
ambulatory,
outpatient.
exactly, surgical subspecialists. I mean, in an ideal world, yeah, it'd be great. Actually, a lot of physicians in the hospitals wish that this was actually there instead of Epic and Cerner, just because of, think about it, you go to the bedside, right? And the patient, you know, has, I mean, there's so many interesting things here, but you know, the patient has a rash. I want to turn on my camera to show you that.
'Cause,
Yeah, go ahead.
I use Cerner at my hospital, and we have some things that are similar to this, but this is much more user-friendly.
Much more user-friendly, correct.
But I know like we can go in with a computer and type in and kind of search, you know, you click all those, but I know it can be difficult sometimes doing that, because especially like I'm a pediatrician, parents just keep talking. And so it's
Right.
hard to kind of focus them in and with also letting them speak without cutting them off every second to kind of go through that checklist.
Right.
And so it's, I think I don't know, sometimes it's just tough when you have a computer in there or a computer screen to keep that.
Right. So some people will choose to meet with the patient and then go outside and chart outside. What I like about a lot of this, and you know, you could sign consents. It's very much like, okay, you're going to do a knee procedure on the patient. You're going to stick a needle in their knee, and you're going to go in there, and you know, everything's already here. It tells them what's going to happen at the procedure, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, going to Publix, and you know, you want to sign the form. And I like the fact that it's mobile, that you can hand it to the patient. There's an exchange as opposed to like clicking and clacking, and then so there's certain features about being mobile that are great, but I agree with you, it can still interrupt the flow with
So
the
they
patient.
electronically sign everything?
Correct. Everything completely 100% paperless.
That saves having to scan it in.
Saves having to scan it in. Correct. I'm really trying to get my camera to work
You have
here.
a question?
Anybody else?
Yes,
Question?
Carla?
I was gonna ask, can you book
a surgery through it, or is that like a separate program? Like,
Certainly. You can do scheduling, you can do order for surgery. So you can order you can order, I can demo that for you. But yeah, you could order surgery for the patient. They need to go to the operating room to get their knee replaced because of the knee arthritis. You could order that surgery. You could, we have fax capability directly from the product that'll fax it to doctor's hospital, your orders, your labs. So it's all very much all in one.
what about like X-rays? Like, can you view them on there? Or
Yes, you can. You can view x-rays on here. So the idea, again, is to leverage technology so that it's an all-in-one solution. And technology is moving fast. I mean, I think in the future, the doctor's going to be wearing a Google Glass, right? And it's going to record the interaction, and no one's going to have to scribe anything. That'll be ideal. And as you interact with the patient, it's taking the information and compiling it into a chart note. So it may very well be, Professor, that I come back a few years, God willing, from now and say to you, this is obsolete.
Right,
Now
but
we're with
I mean,
Google
this-
Glass. And I think it's moving so fast. But what I can tell you is I'm really grateful that the Affordable Care Act mandated that we go electronic, because I really did think that it was archaic. I mean, that was, 5-8 years ago. And the VA hospital, which is our government system for veterans, was on electronic records long before us. And so if you were a veteran and you had a heart attack in Miami and then you flew to California and went to a VA hospital in California, by using your Social Security, they could see everything that happened to you in Miami. It saves healthcare dollars, right? We are still struggling that Baptist is on a different system than Mount Sinai is on a different system than Memorial. So if you're in a car accident in Homestead and you're brought to Baptist, and then they have to airlift you because Memorial has a setup for you, it's not like Memorial can see your Baptist records. So we're still fighting that issue of intraoperability that the VA hospital has, but not all other hospitals have. But I will just say that leveraging technology was the way to go, because I've seen the power of this system, this specialty-specific system in our surgical subspecialties, because, again, you can drill down very specific disease processes, you could drill down therapeutic interventions, and the hope in the end is to improve patient outcomes.
So let me ask you, so
Yeah.
you're now practicing whatever, once a week or whatever
Yes.
at Menard, and you see a patient, and then, let's say you also had a practice in Aventura.
Yes.
Could then you be able to take their Epic
No.
data into
No.
your?
No, separate and distinct,
Do you think
unfortunately.
there's ever gonna be a time when, if I'm a hospital with Epic, I'm gonna communicate with another hospital with Cerner, or if where that could say, okay, you never gonna have just one computer EMR in all over the country,
Right.
but is there a way to say I'm on vacation in New York to access my records from Miami on a different health system? Or, I
So,
mean, even all Cerners can't access, right? Jackson has Cerner,
Right.
Miami Children's has Cerner, but they're different versions and
Right.
different access.
so there's a act in Congress right now that is pushed forward to do exactly what you're saying, which is mandating, if you're going to get your next level of certification for your product, that you figure out a way to talk with everybody else and play nice in the playground with everybody else. And I think it's very important. Right now, what I tell my patients is, when you leave the hospital or a doctor's office, they give you your patient portal log on. I say log on, because you're going to be the keeper of your records, right? So you have an injury in New York and you just had an x-ray in Miami, you're able to go on to UChart for Miami and show the doctor at the New York hospital, hey, I just had this x-ray, here it is. So I almost tell patients right now, it's up to you to be that connector, because right now, you're right, these systems don't talk to each other, and it's a problem. And it's a waste of healthcare dollars to have an x-ray in Miami and then be in New York, and it was just done in Miami, but you don't have it with you. So now in New York, they're gonna repeat it, and they're gonna charge your insurance, and so you gotta be like the owner of your records right now. Yes.
Are like scheduling and like billing and like those administrative things also through?
Yes, we
So
have
you're
all of
do-
that.
So you're doing the
We
back
have
end
practice
as well?
management, we're doing the back end right now, which is great. We're also doing, since I've been here, we're doing revenue cycle management. So
So
we're
you're
doing
doing
all
all
the
the
collections, we're doing from A to Z, yeah.
How much does a system like this cost?
Okay,
Like,
So
can
it's-
you buy just the, like, basic?
yes,
the
yes.
billing?
It's
So
modular.
there's, it's modular. If you want the whole system that bills for you and collects dollars for you,
Yeah.
it's a different price, but it is a monthly subscription fee. So the system is $650 a month. That is the fee. When I used to dictate, like into a little dictaphone, and it would go to India, it was transcribed, and it would come back to me in a Word document, it was 7 cents a line. It actually turned out to be way more than $650 a month. My transcription fees were in the thousands. So this has definitely cut down on cost. You had a question?
So when you make your papers, make your notes.
Yes.
And someone refers their patient to you and you wanna
Yes.
send them back to that.
Yes.
Is this, you just
Yes.
forward and email it from this system to that
Correct.
and it's protected?
Correct. It's all done HIPAA compliant, et cetera. Yes. We have abilities to fax, send back referral notes.
So where are you going now
So,
in the future?
telehealth.
I was telling you.
Telehealth. That is the future.
Yeah.
There is no reason why you should have to drive your
Yeah.
car if you don't have anything catastrophic, right? And like wait
Right.
in a waiting room for 3 hours to be seen, if you could just get on a device and have a synchronous conversation with a physician, or asynchronous, like load up, like, these are my symptoms, this is what I'm feeling, and have them communicate back with you. So there's different ways to do it, whether it's gonna be synchronous, like you're FaceTiming with them, or asynchronous, where, you queue up your question,
So
maybe
is-
shoot a picture and send it to the
So
doctor
you're
and get back
starting
to
with
them.
dermatology or all
We are starting with dermatology,
Which
and
fits.
dermatology lends itself very well.
And it's been telehealth for.
Exactly.
And are you gonna do this on your own, or you're gonna partner with
We
something like LiveMD or
we're
something?
doing it on our own right now. Yes,
So you're doing.
yes, yes. You have a
Just
question?
out of curiosity, how did you get involved with this company, like being a physician and then transitioning?
Yes, so that's a great question. So I started on an electronic health record that was not mobile, and it was not in my specialty. So I went from seeing 40 patients a day to seeing 12. I was so slow. I was like wearing wrist splints on both my wrists because I was like this, and literally my back was to my patients, and I was having a nervous breakdown. So I was like, this is not the way of the future. And this company, like the stars were aligned, and they were looking to build a rheumatology product, and they contacted me, and I started to work for them. And I think my lesson would be, whatever you guys decide to go into, don't put yourself in a box, right? So if you get an advanced degree in something, it doesn't mean that you have to do exactly what that specified field is. For example, I became a doctor. It doesn't mean that I have to hang a shingle and see patients. I'm in healthcare technology. I have physician friends who work for Eli Lilly in pharmaceuticals. I have physician friends who are doing all kinds of interesting things, writing books. It doesn't mean that you have to see patients. If you go and get an attorney, like a JD, you're a lawyer, it doesn't mean you have to like be in court and try a case. There's so many things you can do with advanced degrees. Healthcare technology, it doesn't maybe necessarily mean that you are writing software. You could implement the software. You could consult on the software. Just remember, there's so many things you can do. Be diverse and be versatile, Don't just pigeonhole yourself. So that was my story. I was seeing patients every day, 5 days a week. I was miserable because I was on a system that was terrible. And I just branched out. And I started with healthcare technology. I really enjoy it, but I also went to medical school for a decade and decided that I didn't want to give up seeing patients, so I still do that. But diversify, and
So what part of the company, what are you doing now for the
So,
company besides
exactly,
doing
so-
talks and-
So rheumatology took off, and as a doctor who takes care of joint pain, there was another specialty that really wanted this product, and that was interventional pain management. Those are doctors who control pain. In rheumatology, we control joint pain. So I pivoted, and I went from doing just rheumatology. I'm now involved in creating our newest product, which is in the field of interventional pain management. So
And meaning that you're in charge of it and doing that, so what does that
Yes.
entail for you?
The content. So you saw here, we talked about knee pain, we talked about rheumatoid arthritis. With interventional pain doctors, we're talking about epidural injections for back pain. So there's always a build out of content that's constantly evolving. So my role as a physician is to use my medical knowledge to build the content for the doctors using this product so it can be fast for them. It's all about efficiency. Yes.
In terms of telemedicine,
Yes.
like a specialty such as rheumatology.
Yes.
which I guess I understand if it's a known patient, they can come in and kind of tell you their
Yes.
symptoms. You can know if it's
Yes.
a flare up of something like that. But
Yes.
don't you need to, I guess, physically touch the patient
Yes.
and examine them?
Yes. So there's new codes that are being provided to us by Medicare for billing purposes that don't require a physical exam, because on the computer you can't do a physical exam. I would say telehealth has to be used very judiciously. If you need to do a
I would have,
physical,
like, such anxiety.
me too. The only reason I would use it is if it's a patient that's been your patient for X number of years and they're there for a refill, right? You're a patient with migraines. You go see your neurologist once every 6 months to say you're fine, you haven't had a migraine, and you need a refill of your Topamax migraine medicine. Easy. That could be a telehealth visit. You know, you have a rash, you need a topical cream, it's red, it's itchy, telehealth visit. Don't get me wrong. If an infant's got abdominal pain and they're screaming, vomiting, and like have bloody diarrhea, that's not a telehealth visit. That's like, you got to see that patient. So it's limited in some respects, 100%.
It could definitely cut down on so many ER visits that
Yes.
are recurrent patients or known complaints or
Right.
especially like seizures, right? They know and they're
Yes.
so things like that. But
Yes.
do
I
you
would
think
agree
it's
with
actually
you.
going to get reimbursed by insurance?
Yes. Yes. I think it's going to get reimbursed. I think that, you know, right now people aren't adopting it so much because it's not reimbursed, but I think it's going to get reimbursed. I think big companies, you know, the Carnival Cruise Lines of the world would much rather their employees log on.
They're doing it now already with the
And they are.
dermatology, so.
Correct.
It'll have to be, and when you think about cutting costs,
Yep.
how many times are
Exactly.
you increasing this and what are you doing? Okay, so basically, what you're doing is the telehealth and you're expanding to other,
Yes, we are expanding
So
to.
what part of the, so 80% of your time is working with, modernizing medicine? you
Correct,
said?
correct. 80%, 20%.
Okay.
So I want to just tell all of you that our company we are located on FAU's campus in Boca Raton,
Oh, you're
Florida.
actually on their campus?
We are on their campus.
Were
and
you always on their campus?
We always have been. We are in their technology center, their innovation and technology center. We have lots of job openings. We are expanding. We are the fastest growing company in South Florida. I think I'm like losing, 7%. But anyways, I encourage all of you, if you're looking for summer internships or you're looking potentially for a job opportunity when you leave this fine institution, I love the Canes, to, you know, consider looking us up. I think that it's a fascinating arena. I have some pens here. I don't know if you guys drink cold beverages, but it's got our website. I know, cold beverages, college campus, it happens. But I have our website information here on these as well. So please feel free to take something, look us up online. We have internships over the summer. We've always had some great people from UM come forward and join us. So hopefully,
Let me just ask
Yes.
you one more question before.
Go for it.
While everybody goes. So what are you doing with, where I think a lot of the future is in your data analytics?
yes, thank
So
you.
what are you doing in terms of data analytics, in terms of analyzing that data? That's the
Right.
key, not just to know I have 3 patients on this, but to forecast even things with, you know, IBM and Watson and
Correct.
in terms, are you working on any area?
We have a partnership with IBM where the doctor could be at the point of care through this app and say, I have a pregnant patient who has psoriasis. Is it safe for me to use this drug on them? And you can actually ask that question to Watson. So we have a partnership with Watson. And as you know, Watson's the computer that won Jeopardy, right? Has artificial intelligence. And the idea is at the point of care
So
to
you're now
help
in a
doctors.
prototype with that?
That
You're
is
in
correct.
pilot?
We have a prototype with Watson.
Prototype,
Yes,
right.
What about if you clicked and you're asking about the symptoms, so you don't have a diagnosis?
certainly.
Can you put it, are you guys working with like Watson to develop that, to say what's
Correct. Right, for mystery, like, you know,
For
fevers and, yes.
Or even like just like, I mean,
I mean, don't get me wrong, we don't want to
take away our jobs.
take away our jobs.
But
and-
it will be taking,
But that-
you'll be practicing in 5 to 10 years, those physicians coming out will be practicing a
that way,
different time.
correct.
And there may be,
Double check,
maybe,
it's like double checking.
Yeah.
Something like,
Right.
okay, I didn't think of this.
and
This
what
is
about
it says.
scribes? Are you
I think
needing
s-
that?
I
Are you
think-
needing this with your product?
No, I've found a way to just work on this without a scribe because the technology is very
Okay,
easy, user friendly. But other physicians do use scribes.
Okay,
Thank you for having me.
thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Take some pens. Hold, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I might have one card, certainly. And I usually bring a ton of them, but I think I'm low on the cards, but, you can,
I'll email it.
yeah.
Or
You
do you
can
do you want me to take a photo?
take a photo or email the card.
Why don't you just take a photo?
Take a photo of the
Yeah,
card.
Take a photo of the card, and that'll be.
Please
the
feel
best.
free to contact me. I love UM students. Like I said, I graduated from the Miller School of Medicine. My heart is.
And what
very
day do you
partial.
practice on campus?
I
here
am
now?
on campus on Wednesdays.
Oh,
So
perfect.
today, exactly.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Perfect.
care. Yes. Thank
And,
you guys. Yeah, you seem to have a great group of students.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
had
right.
folks come through,
Right, and then.
and yeah.
I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Sabrina.
Sabrina, thank
Nice to
you
meet
for
you.
being here.
Yeah, of course.
and
Your presentation was great.
I'm glad.
I actually, the CFO, Karen O'Byrne.
Oh, how do you know Karen?
She went to my high school and she spoke on a panel.
You went to Ransom Everglades.
Yeah.
So did I.
No,
What-
really?
yes. What
No
year did
way.
you graduate?
2015.
Oh, well,
I'm
yes. You're
I'm
young.
05.
You're 05? Oh,
Really?
wow.
No way.
So Sabrina what?
Baraha.
Baraha. And you are 05. What's your last name?
Gampel.
Gampel. So 05. Did you go there in middle school?
Yes.
Did you have Mrs. Alicia Oberstein for Spanish or French?
I took Latin actually.
Ah,
There was
Big
Latin offered?
mistake.
I didn't know.
Latin back
Maybe,
then.
and they might have
Oh, no.
changed it,
Yeah,
but
we don't have
there's
Latin
only about
anymore.
7 kids in our class. It was
So
terrible.
you took Latin.
Yes, it
So
really
is that
helped
your
when I
mom?
came back
My
in
mom,
residency
she
in
taught.
Miami.
My mom taught Spanish and French there with
Yeah.
Bobby Basuk. Like
I know.
Miss Basuk.
I know, but
Yeah.
She was my advisor in
Yeah.
8th grade.
she's the best.
She was.
So Sabrina, and what was your first name?
Bradley Gampel.
Bradley.
Yeah, so she spoke on a panel
Yeah.
for alumni.
So Karen is our CFO. She's amazing.
Do you speak with her a lot?
All the time. All the time. That's a great story. I'll have to tell her that we.
Yeah, she's super nice.
Yeah.
And we had a couple emails back and forth.
That's great.
But,
And you're a grad student or
No, I'm a
undergrad?
junior undergrad.
Okay. And you're going into healthcare.
Yeah, I'm doing health sector management and policy and also finance.
You really should look us up.
Yeah.
And we have internships over the summer. We have internships.
Specifically like with finance?
Yes.
Okay.
And she heads up the finance. Like
Okay.
she's in charge of all
So
of that.
I was checking out your website. Is there somewhere online there to apply?
Do
or-
me a favor, send me an email,
Okay.
and I will connect you with the person that does summer internships.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks for introducing
Of
yourself.
course. Have a great one.
Go Raiders. Yes. You're a pediatrician, you said.
Yes, so
Where'd
I-
you go to medical school?
I actually went to medical school in Israel.
Yes.
Sackler School of
Yes,
Medicine.
excellent. They're in connection now with Columbia, right?
So there's one there's Ben Gurion, which is connected with Columbia, which
Okay.
I think they do 3-in-1, which is, they're not in Tel Aviv, they're actually in the Negev.
Okay.
Mine is called like the New York State program because it was
Okay.
originally made for New York residents. To basically do your med school there and then do residency in New York City. But now it's open to everyone, even Canadians.
Awesome.
So, but it's called the New York State program, so that's
Got
why
it.
people. But I just finished my residency at Miami Children's,
Good for you.
and I'm a chief resident there now. And then I'm gonna do a fellowship in HEMONC
Good for you.
starting next year.
Dummy
But,
data. You see
so
the
I'm in the grad
Medicare.
program here, getting a master's while I'm chief at the UM. They have like a master's of
that's
science
great.
in clinical
Good for
and
you.
translational medicine.
Right,
So
right.
that is why I'm here.
Good for you.
But what's interesting about the EMR in terms of like residency, because I know it's designed for outpatient
Right.
and specialists.
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest complaint of any resident is probably just notes,
Yeah.
right? And like I know attendings dictate, so
Yeah.
it's different. But again, when they're dictating, I don't know if they see a patient and then dictate, or they're
Yes.
writing notes to themselves after. But like you can't see 6 patients in a row and then dictate 6 patients in a row
Right,
because you make
right,
mistakes.
right.
But for resident, I mean, we're always writing stuff down. I
Right.
don't know. Some people use the iPad and bring Cerner in there and do
Right.
that. But I guess do you see that becoming useful in inpatient? 'Cause,
That's
like,
hard
there's
to
such
say.
big-
I know, it's really different. Inpatient's really different. And you're communicating with pharmacy, and I don't know that this type of workflow, definitely for documenting the patient visit, you could use this, but I'm not certain that you know, you could communicate with, you know, nutrition department and pharmacy, and it's just so complex. That's where I think Epic and
There's no
Cerner.
orders to be put in.
Correct.
But in terms of like the note writing, you're right, once a patient's admitted, you're not going through the full
Right,
H-
right.
H&P
You're
each time.
you're doing a follow-up
And
note.
so then it's like for pediatrics, right, in the morning, you're asking like every patient, like, are they
Right.
peeing, pooping, eating,
Right,
how'd you
right.
sleep, any
Follow-up
issues?
note, right.
When then going to your chief complainer or why they're, or going over why they're there.
Right,
But I
right.
feel like you could design something that could,
Be really good
cause
for
like
the
Cerner has
inpatient
that where you
setting.
click, you know, that
Right.
has like the, it's good for the physical,
Right.
but
But you know what's a shame with these histories is that every doctor and all these attendings that are dictating, it's just lost data.
Right.
You can't
It's
drill
not-
it down.
It's not the
You've
structure.
got to
Remember
do
we
it
were talking
structured.
about that before, the structured data. and
If
that's
we
where
want
you-
to affect
And that's where you
change,
want to do the
Documented.
population animal.
right? You want to affect change. How are you?
no, I mean, that, I'm sure it's much easier to come up with these numbers. I don't even know if Cerner has that at our hospital, if you wanna look at how many patients, I mean, you can look, we have diagnoses. I
Right.
think
You have
they can pull up-
ICD-10s, right? And
so
you
they
can
pull
pull
up
up.
those diagnoses, but in terms of complaints and,
Right.
I don't know, but I mean, you track everything in there, so you can have
Everything.
every
Every click is
person
tracked.
with left wrist pain can
Every
be,
click is checked.
you can just pull that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So, I wish you a lot of luck.
No, thank you, it's nice.
Yes. You know Marla Kotzen, Dr. Kotzen in the ER at Miami Children's?
Dr. Kotz.
Marla Kotzen.
I don't know.
No, you haven't met her. Okay. Well, anyways. How about Rafael Rivas Chacon?
Yes, Dr. Rivas.
Yeah.
He's,
He's great.
he's a legend.
He's a legend.
They pre-show.
He's great.
Yeah,
Well,
he's awesome.
Is that you?
de
So
blah.
he's there, and then we have one new one. Dr. Hay is a new.
Oh,
person.
yes,
Somebody
yes,
got
yes.
the
She came from New York.
No,
Yeah, there was
exactly.
something that
So
happened
she's
in
a-
Rutherford. I don't
Cool.
Not that many
Yeah.
pediatric rheumatologists.
I know. Small world. Take care.
No, thank you very
No,
much.
thank
This is
you.
awesome.
Take a pen. Remember us. Yes.
Literally, I want to take care of it. Do you
Yeah.
guys have anything regarding neurology?
No, we don't. But
That's one of the biggest things that you guys need to, because I have seen Johns Hopkins doctors using something similar to this.
yeah, in
But-
neurology.
Yes, something similar, but
Yeah.
it's still a lot of typing. In
Yes.
there.
Hi, how are you?
And I was
Yes.
like, whether or not you guys have anything. But like, how do you guys handle the data?
Ah,
Because the thing is, we are doing a joint project
Yes.
on neurology and everything, but like one of our biggest problems is handling the data, because
Yes.
we're, for example, let's say we're trying to train an AI to be able to, for the future purposes,
Yes.
to understand and be able to give a diagnosis by itself.
correct.
How do you guys handle such a data? Because
I mean, that's fascinating. That's the future, right?
Yeah.
To allow AI to read a patient symptomatology and provide a diagnosis.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of our actual ideas. But
Yeah.
like the thing is,
It's
how
fascinating.
do
And
we?
that's great when you're in rural areas where there's a shortage of doctors, or in the Caribbean where,
For consults. right?
yes, we don't have that yet. You might be onto something.
No, but that'll be the next
Yeah,
wave.
that's the next
Basically,
wave. That's the thing.
the next wave.
Yes.
The diagnosis.
So,
And then your role will be changing.
That's right.
And you won't have to be a note taker, you don't have to be all those the other types.
I'm gonna have you take a
Okay,
will you go
okay.
around, because I have to
Yeah.
tweet it to the company.
Okay.
If you'll-
You guys wanna take a picture of her, we can even do that. You want me
You
in
don't
it or
mind.
no? Go by
I
yourself.
think probably without your
You can-
consent, I'm not allowed
Yeah,
to have you in it.
Okay,
I'm
with
just,
my set?
I just
Okay.
need a picture of myself
Right,
with our products on the
Right.
screen. I have to tweet that I'm here.
right.
Oh, is this your next class?
Yes, you
Okay.
can even talk to them about it. I tell you what this class is, it's cybersecurity and looking at security.
Whoa, yes,
So
that's
basically.
fascinating.
So basically, you can even tell them about your company, because that's
You
one
can
of
just
the
take a
things.
picture, action shot, like while I'm talking with her.
Right, so take a couple.
Oh, no, she can't be in the
I
photo.
cannot be.
Hold on, oh, this is terrible. This just went down. Oh, wait. Brutal.
Right.
That sucks.
At least
Do you
Dr.
have
Overseen, you
have
can
something
tell
to
them
plug
about
it
your
in and we'll
company.
come up?
It's
You
the
know what
fastest
this
growing
is? You know
company.
what? That's what it is. I lost my, charge. That's okay.
Well, you can charge it.
No,
you can
this wasn't working.
No, the other one, try the other one,
Ah.
underneath.
Okay, well, sorry, Professor.
No,
Oh, yeah, it'll take a minute. Fire
take,
it up.
take a minute. So, Dr. Overton is in a company called Modernizing Medicine.
So I'm gonna be
It's the
sending you an
fastest
email
growing,
asking you this question, and then
Yeah.
if you have anyone that can help us, because I'm trying to create an AI doing this exactly
But
thing,
it's
helping people
basically
to actually come out of coma.
taking,
So because AI
electronic
has
health
this ability
record.
to understand
Remember we
specific
talked
brain
about
patterns
EHRs
and
the other day?
trying
Well,
different
this is
things,
instead of doing
and then
the
the AI can pick up, okay,
old-fashioned
okay, if
way
you're
of
doing
the
this
old
sound,
system,
you have more brain
the
waves, so
owner
let's just
of,
keep doing this and
Sandra
adding other
Blackwood
stuff
and
at the
Hayden
same
Blackwood,
time.
right?
And I
He
was
sold his
wondering whether or not,
company, right, and it's like
is there
40 or
anything from
something,
your company that
right?
can help
And then he
me,
came down to South
with this
Florida and
project?
went to the
I mean,
Spring
not
Colleges.
specifically,
He
like,
saw
actually,
how
I do have some
working.
questions, because first of all, I need, I'm writing a proposal on this, and I need to have a
He basically
lot of
started with the
information trying
iPad.
to
He says, "Let's create an
come up with this
EHR on the
proposal,
iPad."
and I
Where it
still
used to be traditionally,
like,
what a physicians do
not
is they sat
sure,
there
100%
on
sure
since
on the
everything had to be electronic, sitting at
technology
keyboard
part,
and they're
because there are
spending
a
time
lot of things like I've
typing
seen
and
this.
the
This one's
patient
much
is over here, so I'm going
faster, I
like
would
this,
say,
right, and I
and
don't do it.
speed in
So
the
they
future will be the
basically
key of
started
success,
all this
basically.
structured
100%.
data. They
And
started
I was
with
wondering whether or not
They got
you
themselves
have
an
anyone in your
accelerator
company that can help
in
me, like, kind of
FAU.
answering this type of questions.
Yeah, send me an email. I'll see who I can connect you with.
And that
For
was the
sure.
fastest
Thank you
growing
very
You're
much.
welcome. My pleasure.
Basically, their idea is quite clever in the way for the workflow. Instead of teaching computer science as medicine, we'll teach
Always something, technology.
We'll teach JavaScript and HTML.
Now I have to get
And
you into my
they'll do the
system.
work for
My
the
phone,
back
right?
end
Did my
you
phone go
get.
dead on you?
No, it's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
But
great.
they do the work, they do
I
the
have
workflow.
to tweet that I'm here, so you just
So they do.
picture me
so-
with the
So each specialty,
posing
they're in
for-
charge of the workflow. So Dr. Oberstein is a rheumatologist who graduated medical school at the University of Miami and her undergraduate
got
at
something?
Harvard. And she basically started
you.
they started with
Trying to get her
rheumatology.
That's
and she
great,
had a
that's
session
perfect.
with
Okay.
rheumatology.
That works great. Thank you.
So,
So, you wanna just give them a real quick?
Yeah, this is the next wave of students.
The next wave of students
Okay.
that are, there's a cyber security.
Cybersecurity.
And basically what they are, there's two groups here, business technology for the
Yes.
business school, majoring in technology and computer science.
Fascinating.
So we have those groups,
Okay.
and a lot of times what I've had is have some of our healthcare, right,
Yeah.
just stay over a little bit, just so they can
Right,
see what
right.
are the rules. And a lot of people even think that there's no companies here for technology they can work in. They think that they have to go to Atlanta, have to go to other places
No.
outside of Miami,
No,
out of
no.
South Florida, and you guys are here, and
We're
you're
right here.
and you're really.
Yeah, we have
And maybe
plenty
you
of
could-
opportunity.
You maybe real quickly show them basically how you're different from, and we had just, it was turned down, on Monday we had, I don't know if you had met him, Dr. Stephen Gerst. And basically, he used to work with all the HCA hospitals. He used
Yes.
to work with Scott, he's an MD, MBA, and he's investing now in home automation.
Wow.
That's his idea, basically, the home with security companies doing the home automation where you then monitor your patients there,
Brilliant.
right, to do it, and then basically, and then with the telehealth there where you can see and then
Right.
reduce admissions,
It's amazing.
right, to hospitals. Once I send down the patient, what am I gonna do? I can monitor everywhere in the house. If I'm gonna do those smart homes now,
Yes, yes.
include the monitoring of the smart homes, so you guys can go even into that business too.
Brilliant, right.
Right?
You know, the
Yeah.
old school was, patients would have a little, if they fell in their home, you
Right,
know.
right, I gotta get up, right.
I'm safe. I mean,
I fell and I
now,
can't get up.
thank you. You can automate all of that and you
Right.
can watch them and
Right,
that's
right,
brilliant.
right. So you can kind of also see, as your elder parents, right, you can also monitor
Yeah.
them and see what's happening with them as well.
It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you can just kind of, real quickly, and then talk about what you guys are doing. I know you're from medicine and not from computer science, but what are you guys doing in terms, are you working on any cybersecurity and security? What are you doing to
Sure.
secure this on the back end and give them?
Sure. So just by way of information, is this your whole class?
Yeah,
Yes.
basically, they'll come in later.
Okay.
Some of the other ones.
Okay.
They trailed in.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Surprised they even.
But these are my best students among them.
They are, right?
They're
So,
some of the stars.
That's
right, right.
so my name's Ilana Oberstein. I'm a physician here at the Miller School of Medicine at the University of Miami. I graduated from UM from the medical school, and I'm very fascinated with healthcare technology. I joined this company, Modernizing Medicine, to effect change in the healthcare industry, to create, this is a software that's very specific for specialists. So I'm a rheumatologist. I take care of patients with rheumatoid arthritis, with lupus. Our software is in 9 specialties. So dermatology, otolaryngology, orthopedic surgery, plastic surgery, urology, gastroenterology, rheumatology, and interventional pain management. And I was seeing patients 5 days a week, 50 people a day, and I was on a product that was not mobile, right? It was not cloud-based, and it was not specialty specific. So I was really slow. I went from seeing 40 people a day to seeing like 12 people a day, clicking and clacking with my back to the patient, and I was miserable. And this company, Modernizing Medicine, a very good friend of mine had just joined the company to create their ear, nose, and throat product. And he said, hey, they want to create something for rheumatology, come along. So I joined them, and I've created this system called EMA, which is the Electronic Medical Assistant, EMA, that helps doctors chart real-time, live, a patient visit quickly. There's a lot of security involved in a product like this, right? You have to have HIPAA, right? Your healthcare information protection. Right. You have to make sure your hardware is protected and that you have many layers of security to get into the product. You don't want people like grabbing an iPad out of your office and finding people's health records. So your hardware has to have that. All the back end, and what we do is we de-identify the data, and it's scrambled and it's saved on the cloud, and you can't isolate which patient has what. Okay.
So who hosts you?
We are actually hosted on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
Amazon hosts you,
Yep.
and they put you,
Yep.
and then you can expand as you go. You can
Correct.
expand.
Correct. And the other thing I want to say is, as a physician, we also have to attest to the federal government if we see patients who have Medicare and Medicaid, which are government forms of payment for healthcare. We have to attest that our office is secure, and we have to have what's called a security audit in our office, which is a binder that if you ever get a federal government employee checking your office, and they can come unannounced from the Department of Health, et cetera, that you have your security binder. What that says is, how many locks do you have in your office? Where do you dock your iPads at night? How many codes do you need to get into the product? You have to have it all documented. What's your protocol if a device is missing? And it all has to be written down in that binder, and you attest that you have this. And if they find that you don't, and you're lying and you don't have any security measures in your office, they will claw back the monies that they pay you for seeing patients. So all doctors take cybersecurity very seriously. Just so, to tie that in with this class that's dealing with security.
Right. And then when you sell your product, you're selling software as a service. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have a monthly subscription for this product.
So when you have them say, you need an iPad to run this, is this how they need?
Correct.
And in terms of, you tell them anything in terms of how they need to secure their iPad, or that's up to the physician?
That's up to the physician, but I've seen fascinating things. I've seen people who have cases on their iPads that have alarms. I've seen people have them in these crazy foam, neon, foam holders that you're not walking out the door with them. I would say that the most important thing is, of course, the level of your codes, right? That your code isn't, hi mom, that it's, alpha, case, numeric,
right.
Special characters, etc. So yeah, but they use their own hardware, and they just $650 a month subscription fee for this product.
For the beginning module, or
Correct, for the basic module.
For the basic module.
Yeah.
And do you just want to show them real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to show you a new visit. We'll do a new patient visit really quickly, because what I want to impress upon you is how the product, the idea behind this is that all the data is put in here in a granular fashion so that you can drill down and actually do data analytics on your patients.
Yeah, so maybe if you can focus more on the data
Yes.
data analytic part.
Certainly.
That it's more, because no one here is a physician.
Certainly.
And they're not studying,
Healthcare. They're studying more security.
More security, more technology.
Right. So when you see a patient, right, you could take a whole prose and a history of what's wrong with them. But the idea behind this product is we try to capture disease entities, and you can extrapolate this to any industry, right? Automotives, avionics. You're trying to capture information in a granular fashion. Information with one touch that you're able to, in the end, you could drill down. How many cars did you fix today? How many planes did you say were safe to fly? How many patients did you see on drug X? And the idea is by putting everything in a one-click fashion, you could, at the end of the day, drill down, okay, how many patients did I see that were on this medication or had this lab test? Or how many cars did I fix that had flat tires, as a simple example. You're leveraging technology to do analytics. You're leveraging technology to see what are the parts of the sum, right? If you're keeping scrap sheets of paper in your garage of what you're seeing, you're never going to be able to look at your 30-day month in review and say, I did X, Y number of products, or I am an expert in problem Z, and I just saw 5,000 cases of it, whatever industry you're in. So you have to leverage technology to be able to collate your data and then drill down and then eventually affect change, right? So if you realize, oh my God, I had 100 patients with this problem and I didn't know how to treat it, I need to bring a specialist to join me who knows that disease process. So extrapolate it. I'm trying to extrapolate it to any industry.
But I keep with the healthcare. But the idea, are you trying later on to do almost like intelligent robots or intelligent bots on this?
What we're trying to do is.
Everybody understand my question? That it's basically, they're trying to do structured data, and the whole idea of healthcare is to get better health, right? Better outcomes.
Right.
And what happens here in traditionally, every physician has been working on their own, but nobody's looking at the entire picture and say, okay, how, and you can think about this, is it when genomics and anywhere else with big data, we're trying to find patterns, and based on patterns to talk about better outcomes and how to address this. So
right.
I'm just wondering.
I think the best example really is our leveraging kind of technology of the system, that the patients who are seen with a physician with this product, you're able to leverage, this is a disease process called psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis. Phil Mickelson, the famous golfer on TV, has psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. He's always advertising for a drug called Enbrel on TV. So the idea behind this is by leveraging technology, by using a system that has structured data, you could drill down, and what you could say is, oh wow, this patient has psoriasis. I don't know what to prescribe for them because they've failed drug A and B. Well, what you see here is we have users that are using this system, and you're collating the data nationwide of doctors that are using this system in a de-identified fashion, and you could say, oh, you know what? My patient didn't do well on Enbrel, Phil Mickelson's drug, but I'm going to try Humira. So the idea behind this is really to, in a structured fashion that doesn't isolate patients and expose their protected health information, to leverage technology at the point of care while you're seeing the patient, to effectuate change and use this as a system of intelligence. Eventually it'll become artificial intelligence, and it'll be Watson who knows more than us humans. But for now, we're leveraging the phone a friend idea, right? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that TV show from forever ago, that you're leveraging the system and the people who are on it to identify other therapeutic options for patients.
But here you're just saying what percent, you're not saying what has succeeded.
Correct. Right? This is just, exactly. This is what percent of doctors using this system are treating psoriasis with clobetasol. Oh, 21% are. But the next level would be, what's the success?
Of those symptoms of those women between 40 and 55 that have had this disease for the past 5 years.
Correct.
Greater than. That's really where the future. And how is, let me just ask you, you have a new model where traditionally it's been the computer scientists or the computer technologists have been writing the code and writing the
Yes.
workflow. Can you talk to us about how it is in your
Yes.
company, and what types of things did they train you in?
Yes.
And how you work in developing one of these modules? It'd be interesting.
Yes.
On the computer end of it rather
Certainly,
than
certainly.
the end product
So many of you are computer science
and business technology.
and business technology. So many of you code. Yes.
Yeah,
In
everybody's done one coding.
what
class.
language?
Like Java,
They work on-
Oh my gosh. Okay, great.
Okay.
So I went to medical school. I did 10 years of higher education to become a physician, right? 10 years to be a doctor. And this company, Modernizing Medicine in Boca Raton, Florida, which is the fastest growing company in South Florida, it's a technology company. And what they decided was they couldn't teach a computer science engineer medicine, but they could teach doctors to code. So I joined the company. I had never done anything. Like, I'm way older than you guys. I had never taken a coding class in my life. But instead of me sitting next to an engineer and explaining to them what rheumatoid arthritis was, they taught me in a very crash course way JavaScript and XML, and they taught us how to code. So we actually code this product, and it's a company that's it's innovative because we have 22 physicians on staff, and they taught us how to code. So
They taught us, the computer science
yes,
people?
the computer science people there. They
They
invested
started-
in us, and they taught us
And
how to.
how long was that?
I mean, I'm still learning, but
Yeah.
like it was a 6 months of really
Okay.
understanding what was happening. And the idea behind it again was a lot of companies that create software will bring in a subject matter expert to be a consultant and like fly in for a day and tell you what they think should be the UI or what they think should be the content in the product. But they did the flip. They actually employed us.
So they employ you. So for instance, this module, what part did you take in this module?
So, and they would probably like to see the code. All the content, all the medical content is really where we come in. What I would say though is you guys are in the best industry because we are desperate for developers. If you go on our website, modernizingmedicine.com, we have like a lot of job opportunities, predominantly for mobile. I mean, don't think that there is not tech jobs in South Florida. We are huge, fastest growing company in South
So you
Florida.
work-
Over 800 people.
Right, so they give you a template? What do they actually give you when you started doing?
So we use Oxygen. Is that making sense? The product that we use to code. I'm gonna try to get out of this. And I'll show them that.
Okay. It's kind, they're unique in that fashion. And how much do you work with your tech people? I guess all the time,
We
right?
sit next to each other. We are
So
like
you
in
understand,
one big
I
pod.
think that is a really great idea that you have the industry specialist sitting with the tech person constantly. So you really get, rather than coming up with a product where your end user as a physician say, oh, this may be slick, but this is not the way I want to do business. This is not the way I want to work.
Yeah.
So basically, they flipped it, and they're the fastest growing company, and you guys are raising money like crazy,
Yeah,
no?
we're raising
Like
money.
millions and millions, right?
Yeah, we just closed a deal for $259 million. So, yeah.
What exactly?
Healthcare technology.
Okay.
So, but we have a whole IT department. I don't know if any of you are getting your degree in that, like
Yeah.
all the
Right.
people on staff that help us with our hardware. Of course, we then have all the coders and
That's why
developers.
I'm telling you.
Mobile.
And there, how many people you just have seen them? Besides seeing them in my class, how many people even heard of them? Modernizing.
We're in
Medicine.
Boca Raton, Florida.
See, nobody.
We're actually on FAU's campus. Most of our talent comes directly from FAU, from their computer science. FAU, Florida Atlantic University
Yeah.
in Palm Beach. Do any of you code in Oxygen? Do you use this?
Is it object oriented?
It's basically, it's basically
Yeah, XML.
it's an XML developer.
I'm trying to,
It's like an,
I'm like connected to this crazy screen here,
okay,
so
okay, but I'm
I
just
wanted to
saying,
show them the JavaScript.
yeah,
Anyways,
but anyway.
but regardless, I
Yeah.
guess the moral of my story would be the
Yeah.
following. You're in a great field. If you're looking for internships every summer, I don't know if those of you who have graduated or are going to graduate or have time in the summer, look us up. We have tons of opportunities. If you're looking for a job, look us up. They're posted on the website. It's a great field to be in, healthcare technology. I know you're doing different types of technology here, but
No, but so basically so when you go up to Boca Raton, what's your day like?
my day is sitting next to an engineer. I try to do as much as I can on my own, and when I need help,
You prototype it first? Or
Yes,
And what do you
yes.
use for the prototyping? How
um,
do you use other templates, so to get those, like the skeletons and so forth, you have those already pre-made, no?
yes. So, we have different environments set up that we use to test the product locally, and it's a long process, right? Because after you write the code, it then goes to QA, and they have to do their own regression on the code and make sure that it's valid to go out to the customer. So it's a long process.
Mhm.
They
And
probably
now
understand.
that you've done it, what would you change? Would you continue? You think that's good that you continue to do you really need to? My question is it really advantageous for you to do the JavaScript rather than having some prototype thing and saying this is my content and have it produce the code, or is that really a good use of your time to spend? You understand my question?
Yes.
Is that really a good use of her time to spend rather than on the content that I need you to be sitting there writing a JavaScript? Do you understand my
Yes,
question?
I understand what you're saying. I think it is. I think what's interesting is that in medicine things are changing so quickly, and drugs are every day getting FDA approved and getting out there. So a software developer may not be up to speed on that evolution, the daily evolution in healthcare.
So it's quicker for you to just do it yourself.
Correct. Yes.
And they do the back end. Is that what their role
Correct. The merging the content, putting it in a stable environment.
is? Doing the databases.
Correct.
And do you get in your product? You get some kind of dashboard that the physician sees.
Yeah. Well, that the physician sees.
And you as the physician.
Yes.
As a practicing physician.
Yes. I mean, we update the product every 2 weeks, so it's native to the iPad. So the physician just goes into the App Store and gets the update. So all the content that we
And you
create.
see graphically too on what's happening with your patients, or you don't have graphics?
Yes, we trend everything graphically. We have pie charts and all kinds of bar graphs, and yes.
And what's your challenge in as being one of the developers?
Okay, so I would say my challenge is, as a doctor, you see something and you want to fix it and be done. And in what I've learned in computer science is nothing's that fast. Like, it is just, I'll go to the developer and I'll be like, we need a slider, right? I want a slider as functionality. Right now, it'll be a text box where the doctor will say the number of degrees that the elbow moves, right? Like 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, and it's a text box. But that's annoying. Like, the user has to type in 4-5 for 45 degrees. Like, why can't we have a slider? Just, 0 to 90 and slide it. To create that slider is like next level. They're like, we need the ticket has to have requirements. Are the requirements correct? I don't know, the slider, well, maybe we could do a dial, but not a slider. And I'm like, what? Just like, you want it to be fast. Then they'll write the code and then something will break and then and then next thing you know, they get the slider, but the slider doesn't work like you thought it was gonna work, or the color's wrong, and then they have to go back and rewrite it, and then it has to go to QA, and then QA has to test it, and then QA finds some crazy scenario like you're never gonna have 0 degrees, but that the slider can go to 0. Then they have to go back and rewrite the code and, null for 0, and I just thought, like, it's easy. You realize that nothing in software is easy. and big time job security, because you'll have a backlog of tickets forever of things that need to get done, and it's hard to do it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I'm laughing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, since you guys are sitting next to the developers, is there no sense of like a development schema? Like you guys aren't doing Scrum or like Waterfall, you're just telling them what to do and like, oh yeah, I
Okay.
can do this
Yeah.
eventually.
So we have real Scrum teams. They run in sprints that work every 2 weeks. The medical team, the medical doctors, were more like a free-for-all, and we're like out of Scrum, because I would just say precisely that. We're able to push out medical content every 2 weeks for our doctors. That's different. We're not working on the features. Like, so that feature I'm talking to you about, like a slider, that's what our developers will work on. We're more just doing content updates. I can't go there with, adding a header on an output. That's beyond my scope. My scope is mainly in content change. So, but they work in Scrum. They have a mobile unit and they have a web unit. They have different teams that are working on different projects, of course, and if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh no, it just sounded a little hectic.
It is way hectic. It is way hectic. But I'm just saying, like, I find computer programming, way hectic. It's much easier to like do like open neck surgery and remove someone's jugular than code. I'm telling you, it is. But you guys are in the right. You're in the right field.
But I think
you will have job security forever.
But I'm not saying, but I think it's great in terms of your way of working.
Yes.
So when you start, let's say you're now going to do a new module for pain management.
Interventional pain.
How do you start that? You start already. You already have. I imagine you have an outline already of what the others look like, right?
Yes.
And then you're just filling in the.
Correct, and we're filling in. So the content can be changed no matter what subspecialty of medicine. We use the same back-end platform for it, and so
just the content changes, and then you'll use the same,
right.
and you'll use those same figures, I guess,
exactly
from each way.
Exactly.
That you can turn. You just make it. So
Yes.
a lot of the things are repetitive.
Right.
About, I guess, just the content.
Right.
change.
And some things are vertical agnostic, meaning a dermatologist still needs to fax their note, just like a rheumatologist, just like an orthopedic surgeon. So a lot of the functionality in this product is the same no matter whether you're a gastroenterologist or you're a urologist.
Just like some of the questions that you're going to be asking the patient, and
Correct.
how you're going to. And basically you have like a document management, intelligent document management, that you have paragraphs already set on what they're gonna need for their outcome.
Yes.
And then you can have the direct access then to the pharmacies as well, and putting in the prescriptions and.
Correct. We electronically prescribe everything. Yeah.
And everything's electronic.
Yes. And it's really fascinating now from a security standpoint is we're also able to electronically prescribe narcotics. And why that's fascinating is there's always a dual authentication. So if I go into my system and want to prescribe a narcotic, I also have the same system on my iPhone, and it sends me, it's like online mobile banking. It sends me a text message with a code, and I have to put that in. So that's a new layer that we're offering physicians, which is electronic prescribing of narcotics, which is, talk about security, I had to
and your data is encrypted
100%. Yeah. So it's fascinating, and
and so who are you
it's evolving.
And who are you afraid of in terms of competition? Who's coming up there that
Oh,
looks like,
that's a good question.
or do you know?
I'm afraid of Google Glass. I think that they're going to revolutionize. I'm serious. They are going to change. Like an iPad's going to be a joke for a doctor.
That you have to sit there and swipe all the time.
Swipe, tap. I'm going to wear glasses, and I'm going to interview a patient, and it's going to record the whole thing. And I'm not going to have to touch anything. So I actually think that one day I'm going to be obsolete, and it might be faster than I expect.
I don't think you're going to be obsolete because now you know how to code. And
Yeah.
you'll be on the back end, right? I
So
think-
when robots are diagnosing patients, at least I've got some backup skill.
No, but it's not backup skill, but basically writing the rules.
Correct.
There still needs to be people that are writing the rules. The robots won't know, you have to be putting that in of the rules.
Certainly.
So I think your job will be changing.
That's right. You have to be versatile and diverse and go with the flow,
Okay.
and you never know.
Well, thank you again, Dr.
Sorry, I was a
Oberstein.
little disjointed because I
No.
gave the last lecture and then this
No,
is.
no, but it was good in terms of, any other questions for Dr. Oberstein? She'll leave.
I'll leave. Just look us up. modernizingmedicine.com. We've had some
Yeah,
great.
do you have a
We've had some
question?
great people come through UM to work with us.
Do you guys have, do you know anything about like the cybersecurity side in regards to like ransomware? 'Cause we keep talking about that sometimes.
You know, I don't. I have like zero education in that, but I will tell you that it's a real fear out there of people hacking into medical records and being able to.
But you're not at, because they're in the way of, they're just setting their software, but the idea is, how about if somebody has hacked into their system that doesn't allow anyone to get to their system? You haven't had that
No.
in terms,
No, we have not.
and people
Scares me.
sign in, because they're usually, in this case, you're selling to the single practitioner or group of practitioners.
Correct.
And not to the hospital.
Correct.
Do you understand? So what they're selling is, who
To the
they're
end
really
user.
getting, basically to the end physician, and they're selling a software as a service.
Right.
Versus who's getting the ransomware now, basically, are hospitals where that's not their client.
Right. Right.
So more, when you heard Dr. Gerst speaking last time, when he was talking about the hospitals in terms of what they call Epic and Cerner, those type of
Yes.
things, who needs to be more scared about it is like a Jackson or a UM
Baptist Health.
or a Baptist Health, where they can come in and they're on the network and they're basically assigned. And when you think about it, they're thinking about, she doesn't have to worry because she's not going into, if she were in private practice, she's not going into surgery right now and sending her patient. But the hospital where she would be working, if they shut her down, then someone couldn't do the surgery. So that ransomware, yeah, Mark.
Do you think that small clinics and personal physicians would be having the same concerns about online security and web security?
I do. I think that I think the real fear also is like the patient portal, right? So patients logging on. Nowadays, when you get discharged from a hospital, you get, a username and a password to go on the patient portal where you could go and look at your results and sometimes upload information for your bill, your insurance. I think everybody's concerned that, that those can be hacked into. I think regular physicians are concerned that a lot of times when you go to their offices, they don't have Wi-Fi that you can use. People are afraid that you're going to get on their network and mess with it. So I think it's a real concern. I think that everybody's afraid of what those issues are at hand. I don't even think we don't know what we don't know yet, I don't know if
And
that
their
answers the
service
question.
is basically, their service, software service, you have AWS is their
Correct.
hosting
Right.
system where they're having. But the ransomware type of thing are more on the hospital
Yes.
network and the IoTs and things like that versus their software right now, being on more smaller networks. So there's less for them. So if you go in their major, I guess your major module is dermatology.
Yes.
That started.
Yes.
So they have 40% of the market of dermatologists. And even if they got down the dermatologist's office and they did ransomware, what would happen? You came in with that rash.
Right.
They could still see you for that rash.
Right.
Versus you come in and your father had to have heart surgery the next morning, At the hospital, that's gonna be major.
Yeah, they
So
could
I-
take a whole system down like that.
Right, to take a whole system down, like, it's gonna be more life and death versus the dermatologist and that individual, and then they would have to find that individual dermatologist, and they're not on all the time, right?
No.
They're just logging into the system.
Correct.
Via their browser, and what kind of network, are they using VPN, or they're just?
VPN, yep, yep.
So they're on a VPN network with their, with AWS.
Right.
So it's a difference. Well, thank you so
Oh
much.
my
Everyone
gosh, my
keep-
pleasure.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
I look forward to coming back.
Okay,
Take
great.
care, folks.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you
well.
very much. Thank you. Sometimes I want to share with you, like what is, I don't know how, I think it's worthwhile, no? You can kind of see what it is. They have, I think they're really bypassing the security because they're thinking on that smaller physician, later on they're going to need it, but on that smaller physician, they're good on it because the smaller physician isn't always online too. Think about it, right? They're not always online, only when they're seeing the patients. If I'm in a hospital, if I'm a Baptist, right, they're all the time on the network, right? I can log into their network and all I have to find is some loose portion of their network where I can get into the network and look how much damage I can do for hundreds and thousands of, patients and doctors. There, with them, they're just selling to small practices. They're competing with those small group practices of a dermatologist, a rheumatologist, and things like that. University of Miami does not use their software. They're using something where they're paying millions of dollars for. This software is $650 a month for the small practitioner. But what they're starting off with, what? What were you saying?
No, you said it was $650
$650 a month that they're paying for their software, and then they don't have to deal with it. And what they're ending up doing is also have another module where they'll do the billing for the physician. And for physician software, it was like a cash cow. They were charging outrageous prices for physicians to do it, So this is where it is. Any questions on what they were doing? So questions on last time with the Gerst? What do you think? The devil's in the detail. My issue, and I think Jesse, you brought up a good point, is they've gone with companies like ADT and so forth that have been old companies, stodgy companies that have old, like I told you, have old technology there that you have to move with the times. But you can see the same idea is just as disruptive as fintech is, healthcare is going to be disruptive. And healthcare is just like how you do your own work here, is if you can do things in telehealth, if you can do things in the home, that's going to change. If you can do things more mobile, that's going to change so much.
Quick question.
Yeah, sure.
What exactly was the title of Dr. Gerst?
What is his title?
Yeah, what was his title?
He, meaning what is his
Like his position at the company.
He does, I can't tell, he does like deals and wheels, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'll come in, I think, more as, he basically, he'll go into, he's wheeling and dealing all the time. So so basically what, he doesn't know about the technology. He'll basically say, I know the people in healthcare. He has like a high, he knows the chief medical officer in one of the largest EHR systems. And then I know somebody, let's say in ADT. And he'll, like you were saying, Touch, he'll be making those mergers. And he basically is an investment banker too. So he's an MBA, he has an investment banker, and he knows healthcare because he's been an MD. I don't even know if he's ever even practiced. But it's almost like, what?
He knows people.
He knows people that know people, and you can see that he even said, I'm going to Washington. What's he going to Washington for? To lobby. He's basically probably for some, it's almost when they talk about the swamp, You know, it's the idea of those healthcare vendors write the legislation that will benefit them. So I'm sure.
I was thinking when he said to lobby, why he wouldn't pitch the security idea to like Medicaid and Medicare to save money for that, like
Yeah.
government bid.
Yeah, right. So I'm just saying. So he set up another company called Telemetrics. But what I could think about that was like a holding company. So when you ask about his title, he's willing to. And the last time he was in the class, he was using ADT as that one.
That's what I thought he worked for.
But ADT ended up being bought by someone else, and then when someone else buys them, they say, "Oh, that project, we don't want to do that project." So we got somebody that Cognizant that Mark knew about, so he hooked onto those guys, and they had something similar. And maybe next couple of months, so he's wheeling and dealing all the time. But he's he's definitely has a lot of energy, and you know, what can I tell you? He's done a lot of different things. And so one time he was doing, you know, the one with the temperature. Do you see the one that he had the thermometer? That was a big deal, and that was the last time he got him into CVS. So, but the whole key here, what does it mean, a digital thermometer? It's useless unless it goes into the electronic health record. Just to have that I have 99.9 fever or whatever, 102. What the deal here is that we'll go into the electronic health record, and then I can do some analytics. The whole business of where it really is going to is the analytics side of it. Is what can I then do to be looking at improving the outcome of patients, and how can I improve the outcome of patients if I have a lot of data, and then I can do some forecasting and then reduce, you know, my costs and increase my better health. And sometimes that gets lost in all the healthcare. So just like anything else that you can think about, maybe 80% of this software won't succeed anywhere, but that 20% will become gems. And this modernizing medicine has really done, you heard her, last round was $280 million. They have a product. They started with nothing. They have a product. They started competing with a lot of, there never was, in hospitals, there were always two leaders. It was Epic and it was Cerner, charging millions of dollars. But for the private practitioners, you know what they used maybe 10 years ago? A file cabinet. What industry 10 years ago used a file cabinet? But the medical, so they were really far behind. So they forced everybody, all those physicians, to start buying this EHR digital. And what did they know about anything about technology? Nothing. And they didn't want to hire IT people in there. So it was like an open field of what people could do, and in the beginning it was basically not very good software. So they were the first one to say, hey, iPad came out, hey, remember the iPad was, you know, basically they've been around maybe 10 years ago. That was the first time that, hey, it at least can do this, and you can start looking at the patient, and you can create then your data, and you can start. So they're starting there, and then they'll go to mobile, and where really their key is going to be is starting to incorporate telehealth. Just like I said before, they'll be in the telehealth, and maybe what they want to do is being exited and being bought out by somebody else, like even a GE, or even maybe even their competitors, like a Cerner or somebody else, and they'll have something for that open market. But I think that's where they're going. But it's an interesting model where they're trying to get the physicians to know a little bit. I don't know if that's the most efficient way to have them start coding in JavaScript, but at least to put the content and put the workflow there. That's what they're saying. So the physician will be happy, because they say, hey, this is not how I do business. So what they'll have is, they started with dermatology, and that's great. In dermatology, there was nothing there in dermatology, and the dermatologists were so happy, because that's exactly how I do business, right? I see the patient, I need to look. And think about dermatology really lends itself the first to me in telehealth. I have something on my hand here. Let me show the doctor. He doesn't have to touch it usually. He doesn't have to surge usually in the beginning. Then later on, oh, it is cancer, then I'm gonna have to come in. But before that, hey, try this cream and see if it goes away, right? Or try this psoriasis. You got it? You with me? So that's how it is. Okay. So let me go back to our section here and show you what we need to do here. I want to go to information security. I want to go to course documents. I want to go to Osaka materials. And the section that I want you to realize and cover is section 4, which is about risk assessment, vulnerability management, process controls for penetration testing, and network security, operating system security, application security, and data security. And when I think about section 4, oh, on November, put it in your notes too, on November 13th, you know, the CISO, that group wants to come back and give us hands-on presentation, okay?
They were gonna do PowerShell something like that?
Yeah, they were going to do a number of different things. So you can send me things that you want them to cover with that, so we can have them be prepared with it. But PowerShell is just the beginning. PowerShell is command prompts, kind of. When you think about it, it is command prompts. But they're coming on November 13th, and there's another company. I think they're called this. This is a UM grad. And this guy is dying for people. This is called Life Wallet. Anybody hear about them? They're based in Miami. They're the founder is a UM grad, and what they're doing also is trying to get to healthcare. You can see that this healthcare idea is they're trying to engage the consumer. So you can go to them. It's called lifewallet.com, and they're basically trying to reach out to the end user and do some technology with them. So you can read about them, about the company, and they're going to be coming out next Wednesday to talk about how they're dealing with cybersecurity, and they're also hiring. And they've tried to reach out with Baptist to do some studies and viewing some studies with their platform. And this person started off after graduating from UM, went to Apple, and then came back to Miami and took some engineers. He's so proud that he took some engineers from Apple to help him create this digital platform for end users. So he's going to be coming next week, just so you know. But on the process controls, basically, we've talked about risk before, and risk is the possibility of the loss of a digital asset, right, and resulting from either from a threat exploiting a vulnerability. So this, you should keep this in mind here, this figure of risk here, you see here of my assets, again, like we talked about before, is which assets are critical, what are its values, what are the possible threats that I have, and what is the likelihood that that's going to happen, what's the impact, and where am I vulnerable in terms of access, existing controls, and attacks and exploits. So I'd like you to read through this chapter of controls. Basically, when we talk about risk, then how do I put controls to reduce my risk? What type of controls I'm going to put? What are those risk scenarios, and what type of risk controls will I use? What are my responses? Some would be to mitigate it, some would be to transfer it to others, some would be I'm just going to accept that risk, versus what are my risk response parameters, what's the efficiency of those responses, what's my exposure, and these analysis. So go over the figure 4.3, which is the asset. What's the description of an asset? We've gone over this again. What's the definition of a threat? What are my potential threats? And what are my vulnerabilities? They have to be identified. What are my deficiencies? Then what are my exposed assets and threats? So my success criteria of how do I manage risk? And the key here always is in terms of managing risk. Why managing? Because I'm never going to have 100% compliance, but what I want to do is I want to reduce it. Some risk I can avoid by not participating in that activity. I won't go on the internet, right? But it's ridiculous. I can transfer that risk. What is transfer risk? It's give it to a third party, get insurance. A lot of people are saying now, I need cybersecurity because all the software in the world, all the appliances in the world, let me get insurance. Because guess what? Those vendors will not give you insurance. That they say, oh, I can do it. So it's shared by a third party or risk acceptance. That this is what I'm willing to tolerate in order for me to go ahead and do business. So using the results of that risk assessment, then your plan is being implemented. So there.
Insurance?
Yes. Yeah. Get insurance. Think about it. You being hacked. What are your assets worth to you? Just like you get for fire.
Is that like having what we do at work is doing a backup every night? Do a backup every day. So.
No, but you do backup every night because that's due diligence, right? Because if the system crashes today, right, I need to have a backup. But let's say your company gets hacked, right?
And the insurance would cover that? Like, what if we get hacked and they say?
Well, it's just like insurance coverage. It's those ifs, those are those deductibles. You have to show, if I get broken into tonight in my house and I left the doors open, right? The insurance. So that's why that's another reason I have to do backup and recovery. I have to do due diligence. And some I have to do depending on the industry I am. I can be shut down, if I'm in the banking industry and I don't do due diligence, I can be shut down versus my healthcare, I can be shut down. And just like Dr. Oberstein said, that they're supposed to check up on these hospitals for Medicare. We talked about that, healthcare fraud that is so expensive. So I can do it, but the question is, then I have to show what are the consequences or I'm down, right? They did a denial of service and Amazon was down for 5 hours. It's going to be different than when you were down for 5 hours. What is the cost for them, right? So you have to show the cost, but the insurance are going to come back to you until just like hurricane, right? If there's a certain point and then certain places they don't want to insure. But this is where people are because they think about this industry is nobody really can assure it because who's not doing this transfer of risk sharing? What I always want to say when I'm talking to these vendors they'll brag about how, you know, they'll find all these viruses. And I said, and how about if I get those viruses that you said that you're protecting? And in their contracts, they won't do this. So you need outside insurance, yeah. And these are these companies that have done it before. A lot of times, even despite the insurance, is what are the ramifications doesn't mean that other people can't sue you afterwards for this. You know, that Equifax, I don't care what insurance they had, right, those abilities that had it. And what about your reputation? You know, and do you want to do business with them, continuing doing business with them? But since everybody's being hacked, or that idea of we were talking about ransomware. A lot of people are just even paying that ransomware, and they're paying it in Bitcoin because they need surgery the next day. They need to be open. And if you Google any of these ransomware, they were all paying. You know, they were paying like $40,000. What's $40,000 if one surgery is you're getting $100,000, right? So for them, and they knew it. Those guys in wherever they were, Ukraine or wherever they were, that they were finding it all through it. So they got these hospitals. So they got those guys rather than getting these clients from Modernizing Medicine. What am I going to get from a dermatologist? He can do it on paper, and he can see you just as well that you have that skin rash. And you can come in, and he can take off, you know, your cancerous mole. It's not that immediate thing. So these people aren't in danger for it. So this is what's interesting in using these results. Once I have this risk assessment, and then this is what you have to also show is, this is the key, Natasha, when you think about insurance, what's the cost of insurance is how much am I going to be liable for this, and then it's going to go up the amount of money that I'm risking for it. So you need those appropriate, and those countermeasures have to be done. So they have something called what they call process controls vulnerability management, that I'm going to constantly be vigilant in identifying and quickly remediating those vulnerabilities. So they have, and this is what I told them to come and show us, and we have some of these in the labs here, is vulnerability scans. So there's software that basically, there's some that are proprietary, there's some that are open source, that are known for those vulnerabilities that will do it. So you remember last time we had one of our speakers from ERM talk about Kali Linux. Some of the people, and we have this in one of our labs called Nessus. If you look at, anybody hear about them? Just not what I wanted. Don't you hate it? So in terms of when I have the Nessus, when I was having it, look at when I have let's do this has always been is a proprietary vulnerability scanner by it's free of charge for personal use. You can download this, that it's able to perform assessments deploying their vulnerability. You can do it, and you can get a free trial of it. You can see here it's one of the most widely deployed assessment solutions. And it basically prevents network attacks by identifying the vulnerabilities and configuration issues. Yes, Mark?
Isn't something like that kind of a mute point, in that by giving them your access, like access to your information for free?
Who gives you access to information for free?
Wouldn't that then make your...
When are you giving your access to your information for free?
Well, you're using their information to
Well, I'm using their software.
Yeah, you're using their software to check your stuff, but doesn't that then expose you because now there's someone with a record of your stuff?
Well, what makes you think that they have a record of my stuff?
All companies keep analytics.
Well, they know that I download. They don't necessarily know what my results of my data are. They know that I download. They have an email. They know I downloaded. But how are they? They have to hack into my system and my assessment report to see what I have. You understand? I'm not giving them my assessment. I'm not telling them. I'm using their tool. Now, what can happen is what they were talking about, something like Kaspersky. You remember when they were talking about that Russian company which was selling to the U.S. government, and they were saying when they sold that software to the U.S. government, possibly if they were nefarious, that's what some people were claiming, is they put some lines of code that they then were kind of doing like a spying on what you were doing in their software. But if we're thinking about, and they're denying that. But the U.S. government said, we're not going to use that product. You know, it's all a matter, after a while, a matter of trust, you know. Just don't go on the internet, you know, and dump your phone in the river, you know, and get underneath a mattress. I have to still run a business. So those ideas, there's certain risks I need to take. And what I'm trying to do is mitigate those risks and try to reduce those risks. You're still, you know, you walk out the street, you know, who ever knew, you know, yesterday you were in New York City riding a bicycle, right, in Lower Manhattan. I mean, there's a risk to everything, you know, but what are those chances here? So that identify the vulnerabilities and configuration issues that hackers can use to penetrate your network. And it's going to give you a report. So what I wanted to make sure is that you run, we have that as one of our labs, is Nessus, is one of the more popular ones that you'll see here, is one of the more popular ones here of commercial tools that are often used to scan your IT infrastructure, and it will then give you vulnerability rule based on two categories, then host-based and network-based.
That was in one of the earlier labs.
Yeah, that you were able to do. So those tools can be researched. So those vulnerability scans you can be conducted regularly, and you can end up, and what they're supposed to do then is basically tell me where my errors are, and this is the key where everybody fails. It's not that I didn't know many times, it's that I didn't act upon it. You found it, right, Mark, in the organization. You told the organization about it. And what someone got lost along the way. Another team was supposed to correct that. Did they? You don't know. You don't know if they did. With the process, it could have even been in the policy. This was the team that was supposed to correct it, but it never happened. You know how things are. You work in organizations, right? The way the things are supposed to be, and everybody's busy and they don't do it. Just like yourself, right? Did anybody follow up? I told you to do that. Did you follow up? No, I forgot. Did anybody follow up to see if you followed up? No. So it's almost like a people issue, and what you're going to see more and more is more that it gets robotic, and what happens is, remember they talked about the SOC? Remember they were talking here, we were talking about the security organization, those guys that were here, one part worked on compliance. Remember the security people that were here from UM, and the other part were, what? Not ERM, the UM.
Oh, okay.
And they had like a security operations center. What are they doing in that security operations center? The compliance we know, they write all those policies. And remember we looked on half of them nobody even paid attention to, right? They took some templates and wrote it up, but they have policies and procedures. And an insurance process when you do get hacked, what the insurance company's gonna do is look at your policies and see something like Equifax and maybe not give them the insurance they owe because they didn't follow up. Somebody told them, one company told them in a certain month that you need updates and they never updated it. So if you were working, Natasha, for the insurance company and you don't wanna give out money, then you already have, and they usually don't, right? It's like each business, right? Why would you want to give up so many billions, basically, right? Is you say, well, did you follow those policies? And it's even right there stated. July, you were supposed, you knew about it in January. In March, somebody else told you, and in July and in May, you sold your stock, and in July, you told the public. But what happened between those months? So in terms of due diligence, in terms of setting that up, I as the insurance company, if I were, they had me and you'd be their consultants, we could have a case for them not to pay. You were negligent. So here on these processes, here look at these examples. Failure to monitor logs, failure to patch software. Does this sound familiar? Lack of policy, lack of awareness, failure to implement controls, cross-organizational failures, interoperability errors, implementing new technology. All of those, if Natasha and I are on the insurance side, we would look at these, right? And if Angela was the CIO, right, they're going to fire the CISO because that's a security. Angela thinks she's going to be free, but later on, if I'm higher up, I'm going to say, well, shouldn't you, what kind of methods did they tell you that they fail you to monitor logs? And what I'm telling you in those, you should go to some of these security, those SOC centers. A lot of times what they're doing is they're just looking at code, these lines of code, and you almost can get a headache just looking at them. And it's almost like you get so many of these alerts that it's overwhelming these alerts. Like how you almost don't pay attention to those. So what they really need to do in the software area is really develop more intelligent bots to these and look at behavior analytics of future, not what's happened in the past. But these are possibilities that can happen in the future, that they're going to be, just like you think about AI, that there's going to be more that AI developed into that security software, not from the past, but from the predicting the future, and then do the corrections for them, not waiting for these people. Just like these updating patches. What BS is there to be waiting for users to update their patches? Shouldn't that be done in a system that's automatic? What am I waiting for these idiots, sitting in an IT center to update patches? Outrageous. A computer can't do that? I can't set that up to be automated? So all this area here is kind of, in a way, that people can find almost like being clever for these people, those exploits for people to take advantage of it. These exploits should not be done. These software companies should be sued for that. But they're not. Just like the Facebooks, now with the testifying in Congress. You needed to be you can write a software program and see if you see RU for an ad for Facebook, that's coming from Russia. Maybe that is a warning sign. What BS are they sitting in front of Congress, saying, oh, we're sorry, we didn't, we'll do better next time. Why should they be sorry? They're getting money. That's what they were looking at before. Nobody ever thought about it, and then just money is running in, as time. But you need intelligent bots there to tell them, not just people looking. So this is where are the remediation. These are all these areas for these remediation. Just like these firms, that are doing these assessments now, they're doing these. So my contention is all of this should be done by these processing bots, and I'll show you next week. We'll download some of these bots. These robotic bots should be doing a lot of this work for us, and not depending on some guys sitting there waiting for updates. Automatically, when that comes out, updates should be done. I don't even have to worry about it.
You can sleep at night, you don't have to worry about, you're in charge, Natasha, of all these guys sitting around, right? Waiting for Mark and his friends to do those updates, and he had a test or something, and he forgot. And Mark said, I'm sorry. Or he leaves to go to another job, right? He says, I want a more interesting job than sitting and doing updates. I didn't go to school all those years just to look at the forms to do updates. I want to do something more clever with myself and let the bots do it so that all those jobs are going to be changing again. I don't need her, in my opinion, as a physician, writing JavaScript. It's a waste of her time. It's good that she knows a little bit, but what I'd be doing is she needs to have some kind of user interface that she can talk about the workflow, and let a code generator start doing the JavaScript for her. It's kind of like flipped around, She thinks she's going to get a job in JavaScript. She ain't going to get a job in JavaScript. But what you can do is basically what you can do, which is what?
You gave her high hopes.
Right, but what she can do is she can write the rules. I know nothing about medicine, right? And she can write the rules when she starts seeing the analytics and start doing analytical processing for the new cures to rheumatism and arthritis. That's what she should be developing her time for, right? And writing the back end rules to that robot. And what she's going to be doing is that Watson IBM robot is asking the correct questions in those order, and then going to the database of millions of patients. Right there at the beginning of her 40% of their dermatology, but those millions of patients to predict here that these are the symptoms of Parkinson's disease, right? And we can cut it off here before you get full-blown Parkinson's. Those are the ideas of, that area. So you can ensure here those processes and controls of those, and then this is when you're doing like the penetration testing of these, of where they are. But many times with that planning and discovery, you can see here, many times it's just sloppy work, and sloppy work, that sloppy work can be done by a computer. So here are, discovery in the attack phase of getting systems, but many times, and this is again remember we talked about the NIST, that you have to definitely follow these attacks and phases on it. But you can see among the, just like I told you about, that workday thing of being at the default setting, right? They forgot to ask you the double time. We didn't need to fire a CISO for that, It should have been already built-in systems already for that. He doesn't have to be up, he didn't have to be up all night worrying about was it a default or not a default for that workday system. So we have to demand more of that, and that's where I see the future is developing these rules and these bots for these systems. So they can be automatic doing this, just like in terms of the network security as well, Security of, even for the LANs we have to worry about, the local area network, they're going through the security, and then again, the wireless that we spoke about. And these are, just dealing with the VPN, and the remote access here that they're dealing with. And that modernizing management, when they do get hacked, Eduardo, then they'll probably, like the back end, start worrying about the cybersecurity issue. But right now, that's kind of like, you don't see that in the press so much, but you see the hospitals. Did I answer your questions?
Yeah.
So you can kind of see the feel for it. So so how are we in the labs now? Where have we been? What was the last ones that we did? Yes, no? Tell me. Or we don't know ourselves, huh?
My group did 310.
310?
Yes.
My group did 311.
311, okay. So you did 311, did anyone do 312?
So you did, let me just go to the groups here. So, group 2, you did which one? 11?
Yeah.
And what else, and what other group did one?
Group 3. We
Group-
did 3.10.
10 and 11. Okay, so 10 and 11, so in this case then, so we'll do 10 and 11 for a presentation for Monday, and then we'll have, group 4 will do then lab 12, and group 5, lab 13, and group 1, 14.
Oh, we did, 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah, the Linux.
Yeah, but I'm saying 14 for the Windows. Windows 14 for group 1, group 5, 13, and group 4, 12.
And we're doing 14, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
12, 13, and 14. Okay? And then the second part of, I gave the assignments for the quizzes, right? They're done, right? Course documents is in the course, or is it under assignments? Under assignments in the other one, Blackboard.
Do we have like a due date for the quizzes?
For the quizzes, they're gonna be open. I'm keeping the quizzes open. Okay? All right. So we'll see each other Monday. We'll have the presentations by the groups. We'll have all 4 groups show us. Okay? And hopefully that was useful.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Okay? And you can take pens for Modernizing Medicine. If you want to take a picture of her card, they're operating well. The only disadvantage is they're in Boca Raton. Good question, Natasha. Keep up the